Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Atlas Information Live. I'm your host, Atlas Alex, and today we are going to be looking at a concept, well, several concepts actually, related to the times that we're living in. And specifically, we're going to be looking at this word convolution and what that word suggests and represents, but also its relationship with evolution and devolution, which of course are directly related to progress, not just our progress as a humanity, but also our progress as individuals, or indeed our lack of progress, as the case may be. Because whereas evolution obviously suggests progress as an advancement, devolution suggests precisely the opposite, a process of degeneration as opposed to advancement. But convolution is this interesting phenomena which it's an interesting phenomena which incorporates aspects of both evolution and devolution. And we'll get to that momentarily. I see that Wolfgang is trying to join, but I don't think he's getting I don't think his camera is working yet. So hopefully he'll connect soon. So what do I mean by that? How convolution? Well, for starters, let's look at the standard definition of what convolution means. We say something is convoluted when it is unnecessarily complicated. It's overly complicated. And convoluted is a specific kind of complication. Anyway, I think Wolfgang has got his camera sorted out. Hi, Wolfgang. How are you?
I'm okay. I had to unplug it and unplug it just to get it to work.
Yeah, that's the joys of online streaming through a browser. Is that sometimes it can't it doesn't register your hardware. So yeah, so you did the right thing. I don't know if it's at all. Actually, no. You know what? Maybe I can put the volume up on my end. Okay.
It's not loud enough. I turned it down a bit.
No. Yeah, maybe. No, it's fine now. It's fine now, I think.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah. If anybody can't hear you, I'm sure they'll let us know.
Okay.
I can hear you fine. So.
Okay, I can hear you fine.
So. I was just getting into the simple definition of convoluted, the definition that everybody kind of understands as when things are overly complicated.
Right.
And I'm avoiding using the term complex because complexity is not necessarily a problem. We're not talking about complexity. There's plenty of complexity in nature, for instance. Our body is incredibly complex. And yet, within that complexity, there are these foundational underlying simplicities that are operating there. And I'm sure that you can speak to this from the standpoint of ecosystems.
Right. The primary thing being mutual symbiosis and the nature of the universe itself and the connectedness of everything to everything else.
And that, in a word, if we wanted to try to, just for the sake of argument, find a word that captures that as an umbrella term, we could use the word harmony or harmonics.
Yeah.
And that word also applies to symphonies. And when we listen to a symphony with all of its hundreds of musicians and all the different instruments and all the different musical phrases that are essentially being spoken all at once, nonetheless, the whole concept of a symphony is that all of these disparate voices are all expressing themselves in this harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at a symphony, it's incredible, because someone who, a musician and a composer, and someone who's able to analyze classical music, especially, and very complex musical arrangements, what you discover is at the very heart of every movement of every symphony, you will find a very, very simple phrase, just a few notes. It's just it's a feeling, it's an expression, it's an emotion, or just this idea that's being expressed very simply by just a few notes. But those notes become the kernel, the nucleus, and the foundation that blooms and flowers into this incredible complexity that is nonetheless harmonious and aligned with, because it has at its very heart and soul and DNA this very simple phrase. And so that's the difference between complexity and complication.
Yeah.
Because when you look at something that's complicated,
yeah,
you won't find that harmony, you won't find that synergy, and you won't find that simplicity at the heart of it all.
So there's something I want to say to what you're saying, and it may be an extension that's out there, and that is that within the harmony exists a self-organizing mechanism, I feel, that is allowing it to instantaneously, or omni, whatever that is, correct itself. So in other words, it doesn't just be there, it's constantly attuning itself to be there. So why does it do that, or how? It's central to what you are saying. There's an intent, or there's a desire to be in harmony, and then the mechanism kicks in automatically to allow it to constantly correct itself, to be in exactly that place. Now is almost an unconscious process to a degree. It's a self-organizing kind of mechanistic process that is part of that larger complexity and the workings behind a mutual symbiosis, where two organisms are mutually symbiotic. Eventually they become one organism through that process. So there's a lot of things going on that is driving this thing, or keeping this thing in that place. So I think this goes off, but I think it's an important point that I want to make.
Well, the fact of the matter is that it's it may appear as though it is self-organizing or automatic, but it
Yeah.
is not mechanical. It's not mechanistic. It's
No, but I'm
conscious,
trying.
right?
I agree with you, but I'm trying to say it appears almost automatic, but it's not because of the there's something that within that person creating the harmonic, which is the intent to create that harmonization.
Yeah, but that's called the being, right? That's the higher self.
Okay,
That's
that's what I'm going
that's
to.
consciousness. That's where the inspiration comes. And certainly when it comes to music.
So
And
all I'm saying is there's all these complexities that align themselves with that.
right. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
but that's every musical instrument in a symphony, right? And that's every
that's,
artist, that's
yes,
every musician
all the
in that
parts,
symphony.
all the parts, yes, that
Right.
align themselves. Yeah,
But remember, a symphony can't function without a conductor,
no,
right? So in that particular example, you have the conductor who sees, of course he doesn't see, he hears, but he sees, right? Everything, the big picture and all the parts. And so the conductor is there to get everybody essentially on the same page. Well, something similar is taking place in all of nature's complexities, including our body and ecosystems that
yeah,
allow these complexities to
yeah.
function harmonically as though they were a single unit.
So
Because remember, our bodies are made of trillions of cells,
exactly. So in a
right?
rainforest, right, a big huge tree. When you take that down, it's like a genocide. You've just murdered all like huge civilizations within civilizations that are orchestrated by that one conductor, the massive tree that's sustaining this whole gigantic ecosystem around itself. So basically it's the same concept, and I'm saying it's a very, very powerful element to build ecosystems is to have these stronger orchestrating elements, because they help pull all the pieces together in a higher level of harmony.
And that's good. And I wanted to be able to make that distinction between complexity
Yeah.
and complication,
Yes.
because convolution, you see, in complexity, in a symphony, you a symphony, the score can't be convoluted. It can't be overcomplicated, where some people are on this timing and some people are on that timing and they're doing these things and those things. And because so convolution is when things are being folded back on themselves and you're being sent for a loop, and it's all this extra superfluous, self-serving, pointless complication activity that's like pointless for the
Okay.
overarching purpose, right? But
Yes.
but, but complexity loses sight of that, and things go off on a tangent.
Okay, yes, by definition, and within the operation of like a third dimensional reality. Okay, now what I'm suggesting is higher realities, higher forms require the convolution in order to escape that that
But let's
reality.
not go there yet. You're
Okay,
going.
okay, okay.
We're at step 2, and you're
All
jumping
right.
to step 10.
Oh, all right. I just want to introduce that
No, no, that's fine. But
because that is what the shaman is. That's what the uh, the Joker does. That's what the crowd the who is it the jester does in the court. He supplies that same element cause another higher level of reflection. So I'm saying there is the basic convolution, and then there is the holy or the sacred convolution, which really is its opposite in so many ways. It's
Yeah,
still
I
the
would
same
not
thing.
call that convolution.
All right. Okay.
That's
Okay.
you're talking about something different.
Okay.
And
I'm interested to see what we would call that down the road.
because that's I'll give you an example, like why this topic came to me. I'll give you a like really, really practical example. You know, my father passed away,
Yeah.
and that we've been dealing with the estate. And one of the things that I had to deal with was his car
Okay.
and getting rid of his car. Now it turns out, you know, I took it in to get a safety check, and it turns out that even though the car was running perfectly fine, right, and it was no real problems, but it was a 2013 Chevrolet, and the subframe, the front subframe had rusted out, and the side rocker panels had rusted out underneath the. So the bottom line was they said it would require like more than $4,000 to be able to certify it, so someone could register it.
Okay.
What that basically meant was there wasn't even any point of me trying to sell it as is to someone, because the vehicle itself, if it was in perfect running order and if it could be safety tomorrow, isn't worth $4,000.
Right.
So what I did was I called up an auto parts place, and they said that they would buy it for parts.
Okay.
So I said, great. They said, so here's what you need. And they gave me a list of everything that I needed, because it was being sold by an estate.
Yeah.
I needed to have a copy of the death certificate, a copy of the will, and three other documents showing my brother as the executor of the estate, and a number of other things that I needed. Oh yes, and I needed a statement saying that there were no liens on the car, and I needed my brother's photo ID to prove that he is who he is and that he is the executor, and all this stuff, right? And we go in there and we take in all the paperwork. But unfortunately, my father, because I guess he was afraid that somebody might steal the car, he separated the license from the ownership, the vehicle portion of the ownership. So the only thing that we had in the car was a photocopy. And the guy at the auto parts place says, I can't take in the car with just the photocopy of the ownership. So you got to go to Service Ontario, and you got to get them to issue you a new vehicle portion of the ownership. And so we went there, and we had to wait 45 minutes just in line just to get to see someone. And then it turns out that because there's a co-executor on the account, they said, oh, we can't issue this to just one executor. You have to take this form and get it signed by the other executor of the estate, so that we could issue a new ownership. Like, you realize I'm trying to get rid of the car.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to junk it for scrap. And it's like all of these hoops and hoops and hoops and hurdles, and just this convoluted mess of bureaucratic horseshit. Like, why can't I just take the car and give it to the guy and say that's it, and go to Service Ontario with the plates and say I scrapped the car. It was my car, but I scrapped it. Why can't I do that? I can't do that. I have to, because the parts guy, even though he's going to be taking it apart and using it for parts, he can't take the car unless the ownership is transferred to him. Even though he's not going to be driving the car, he's not going to be registering the car. It's going to be no longer a car. It's essentially a pile of automobile parts.
Well, you know
But
what's interesting? What's interesting is, you know, the 1 minute cities. This sounds somehow akin to that, in the sense that this is another way to just choke it up and bring it all into that kind of like incredibly, it's so complicated that you just give up. You just give up and you just say, okay, I'll live in the 1 minute city, and I'll just have this little, you know, this, it's like you'll eat bugs and be happy.
yeah, the 15-minute cities. I you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that, because somewhere here I have the, hang on a second, let me share screen. Let me share entire screen, and then we'll share volume,
Like
share.
with AI, I think this is all amplified, right? This gets intensified. What do you
Um
think about?
we're gonna get into that
Yeah.
in just a minute. Because all of this has just been a theme that has been popping up in the last 48 hours. It's
Okay.
just been this nonstop theme of one thing after another popping up, where it's that this age, the end times, has been called in the past um the age of confusion.
Right.
But what makes something confusing is when things are convoluted, when there's no harmony, when there's no synchronicity between everything. Everything's just going in its own way. You would call it a low order ecosystem,
Yeah.
like a jungle, like an overgrown,
Okay. So
whatever, right? Like
so so
it's just
so
it's just a mess, right?
so there's chaos theory, and I'm saying chaos theory is the foundation of a high order ecosystem, the foundational principle. Okay, but there's two, and I've said this before, and you said you coined. I was accused of coining it, and I said there's positive chaos and there's negative chaos. They're opposites. Okay, and so that was what I was getting at earlier. I was talking about, holy convolution. That is positive chaos. It's essential to life. Okay, now it's it's not mechanical, as you said, and we're looking for the word. We said we'll find the word down the road to describe what it is, right? And you said it's not convoluted, and I'm suggesting it's just the opposite, but it's still a convolution. Okay, it's the same when the jester stands on his head, or does these weird things where nobody knows what the hell is he doing, and it's kind of like a distraction in order to bring something else into the reality, that to break the trance of the reality, right? And in so doing, if the thing is determined to be harmonic, and it will reset itself to being more harmonic. Generally speaking, it's a mechanism to create greater harmony as you move forward, more and more, greater harmony. Nothing is static. So there has to be something that gets it to be more so of what it is, because if it isn't, it degenerates and becomes less, and it starts to move into entropy.
Well, this is the point that I'm making is that we're talking about two different phenomenon, because
Yeah.
convolution cannot lead to anything but death. It's
Okay.
its own destruction. And mechanical nature itself can only handle so much, and then the entire thing will just break down. And mechanical nature itself will just destroy it, because it can't handle any more of the convolution. It's too convoluted.
Okay. On that definition, on that level, 100% I agree. So I'm
Yeah.
suggesting that on a higher level, it's necessary to break through to get to that higher level. So you use the word devolution. Devolution also means entropy. It means the death and decay of something. Okay, but on a higher level, on fifth generation warfare, whatever they're talking about right now, devolution is a mechanism to free, to open up and create new possibilities by virtue of the fact that it stimulates what they're calling the awakening. It stimulates that to take place. Okay, so it still has, it's like the jester. That's
Okay.
why I'm bringing up this
So
idea of the Joker.
again, we
Yeah.
have to be careful that we don't
Yes.
oversimplify and that we
Yeah.
state things precisely and correctly.
All right. So
Devolution does not stimulate anything. Devolution provides the environment, the circumstances which have the potential to
yes,
lead someone to the point where they want to escape it.
yes,
But it
and
doesn't, devolution does not automatically trigger awakening or evolution. It is quite the opposite. Devolution is designed to automatically and as a matter of course suck people into it.
yes. So this may
That's
be
that's
just
the reality. A tornado is designed to suck things into it. What do you call those things? A vortex, and not a in the ocean. What do you call like a not in the ocean, but a whirlpool, right?
yeah,
But it's designed by its design mechanically and automatically. It sucks things into them and pulls them down into the depths.
right.
That's what a maelstrom, that was the word I was looking for. That's what a maelstrom does automatically. It takes tremendous efforts to be able to escape a maelstrom.
Yes,
And those efforts have to be conscious, and they
yes,
have nothing to do with the mechanical forces that are sucking you down, other
okay,
than the forces that you're exerting are in opposition to those mechanical forces that are pulling you down.
yes.
So
So
convolution, by definition, is there to confuse and conflate and
yes,
disorganize and disorient and
absolutely.
keep people trapped in a labyrinthian maze that's constantly sending them in circles where
But
they can make no real progress.
a dancer, a Loki, will use that to escape, to break out of that system. He'll
Yeah,
use
no, they won't. They're doing something else. They're not doing that.
Okay, that is what I want to know. What the I know the difference is mechanical and not mechanical, and spiritual or holy, but you can use a method and put it within the expression of holy and sacred. You can change it. That's what we're capable of doing. We can do that.
um, we've talked about this before, and the only answer, the only way to escape or get out of the convoluted mess is to essentially not engage with it.
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
to rise above it, and you got to not engage with it, and
All right.
not right, because as soon as you try, okay,
Well,
I was with my brother.
that's what I'm leading to.
Okay,
How and where? How do we invert it into its opposite?
okay, but there is no inversion into its opposite. The only inversion into the opposite that exists in a positive
Yes.
way is
Yes.
called it's called complete freedom.
Or how about transmutation? Not that either.
No, you can't. No, I can't. This okay. This is the point that I'm making, and why I this is so important. Okay, because some things cannot be transmuted.
Okay.
Okay, and the reason is but let me there was some I was right on the edge of of being able to get to the answer to this question, and that is, okay, improvisation.
Right.
Right? The highest form is to be without form.
Right.
Right? This was Bruce Lee's philosophy of martial arts, right?
Yeah.
And of dancing, right? The
Yeah.
highest form of dance is to be without steps.
Yes. Or formless.
Right? To be completely free of the shackles of any formal mechanistic
Constraint.
determinism, in other words. So in other words, free will and the absolute expression of free creativity, that's where the improvisation comes in, because the ability to respond consciously to whatever is thrown at us.
You're also
Did you
talking
ever
about
see
mastery, right?
what's
That
that?
is mastery, right?
Okay, but that's not all mastery. That's not, because there are levels of mastery. This is a very specific kind of mastery, right? Because there are people who are master, they can be master woodworkers or master plumbers or master, there's lots of forms of mastery where I suppose there's a kind of improvisation and creativity in the moment, but it's greatly limited by the kind of work being done, or the if you're talking about mastery, like mastery in life, mastery of spiritual mastery, then yes. But even then, it's just that being able to move in and out of and between divine law.
Okay.
Right? Because there's always laws. But again, we're kind of jumping all over the place without being able to get, answer the question here. Where was I? I was talking about improvisation. I was talking about the highest form is to be without form and creative freedom, right? Okay. So that ability to respond to whatever is being thrown at you is by liberating yourself from any deterministic mechanical decision-making process, like the way a computer thinks. If this, then that. Right?
I see that. I only want to talk about Bruce Lee again, and I want to say he freed himself from all the exotic moves that he could make. But there's still a form that exists that he had to, which is called the basic, right? In dancing, it's a basic. And you sort of start with that, and you have to get the basic inside you so that it's still a form, but it's not a limiting form. It's just a basic. It's kind of the language of that particular mastery. Okay, and you have to have that, and it is still a kind of form. Okay,
but
he has to rise above that. He has to get beyond its form, as you're saying. But
it's okay. But I gotta check you on your language, because it's not a form, it's a skill.
Okay.
Right?
So basic is a skill?
Yes. It's not a form, it's a skill. It's the foundation, in other words. It's the foundation.
I like foundation better.
Right? Well, think about it this way. Painting, right? Just think about painting for a second. brushes and paint and brush strokes and canvas.
Yes.
Okay, these are not forms. In their own way, they're their own kind of form.
Yeah.
But what they are the foundation of this thing that we call painting.
Yeah, it's a foundation, but it's a kind of archetypical foundation, is it not?
Yeah, but we don't need to
Okay,
complicate it unnecessarily, right? Its
right.
foundation is fine, right? It's you
Yeah.
can't paint without paint,
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah.
right? It's a necessary, but it's something that it's deterministic, but it's open-ended in that determinism. It's
Right.
not closed, it's
Right.
open.
Yes.
A form is closed. A form
Oh, yeah.
dictates,
Absolutely.
right? But a foundation allows,
Okay. Okay. All
right?
right.
That's
All
the
right.
difference. So
But
we have to be able
foundation
to differentiate between the two,
and
because
for yes, foundation almost could look form like, but it's not.
it's it is you're right in saying it's form like, because everything has a balance, and this is the balance between mobilization and constraint.
Yes.
Okay, positive and negative,
Yes.
right? Affirmation and negation. That's the masculine and feminine. The masculine and feminine are in everything.
Okay.
The masculine is the active, and the feminine is the passive or negative. So when you talk about a foundation, the form, the foundation actually in architecture, the foundation determines the shape of the building.
Right.
You
Yes.
can't build walls that look different, or the building cannot be shaped differently than how it was defined by the foundation.
Right.
But it can be 1 story or it can be 10 stories, depending on how deep the foundation is, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
and you can, and then inside the building, and how many windows and the interior walls, and like there's an infinite number of choices that you can make inside of that foundation, in the same way that a painter has an infinite number of choices they can make inside of the canvas,
Right.
right? So the paint, but it's going to be a painting, right? That's what the paint, that's the limiting factor that the paint and the paintbrushes and the canvas bring to the table. That's how they constrain that artwork to what we call a painting.
Right.
But within those constraints of a painting, you have an infinite, an infinite openness and freedom to create any number of an infinite expressions of this form that we call painting.
Well, that's interesting because if we go back to the term conductor, right, then it would appear that all the members of that organization are kind of constrained by the conductor to a degree. Okay, so that's an interesting element within an ecosystem. However, the conductor is foundational in achieving a higher harmonic. Okay,
Correct.
so
Correct.
so so there is a kind of sacrifice or giving of the individuals that are, in making the music, playing the instruments, that they have to be prepared to give of themselves.
They have to be able to, sacrifice
Okay.
their own desires, or how I want to play it, in
Yes.
order to play it in a way that is synchronized and in harmony with all of the other musicians, right? But
So there's two things happening. One where that happens, it happens, but it takes longer just to create that harmonization within the individuals harmonizing. And all the conductor is doing, he's amplifying the ability to achieve that result more powerfully and more efficiently, more quickly.
Well, practically speaking,
Because an ecosystem can balance itself.
practically speaking, it is absolutely impossible
All right.
for somebody who is playing an instrument
Yeah.
and has to focus on playing their part as near to perfection as they can, right? That's their singular job, is to play their part as close as they can get to perfection. It's impossible for them to be focused on that job and also trying to harmonize with 100 other musicians.
Okay, I don't agree with that.
It's impossible. No,
I don't.
because you can't, Wolfgang. You cannot know if you're on this side of the stage in the orchestra,
Yeah.
and you're playing a bassoon or a violin, which is in this high end of the register of the music. You cannot know what the bass bassoons and the drums are doing on the other end of the orchestra.
Right. And
You need, the conductor is there as the singular focus, so that everybody playing their part just look up and they look at the conductor, and it's the conductor's job to be watching and listening to everybody and getting them all on the same page. It's that singular focal point, but that's his only job. The conductor isn't playing any instrument while he's doing that, unless he's the first violinist. But I mean, that's another story.
And I understand what you're saying, and I do agree that that's his job. I'm only saying that it's innate, unless you're a dinosaur and you're highly, highly over specialized, which is not what a true human being is. Okay, if it's a true human being that's playing the instrument, he also connects to that larger element. He can be in both spaces simultaneously. They're calling it non-locality, whatever. You can be in multiple places simultaneously, but your focus, your attention is still in this one specific spot.
If what you're saying is true,
Yeah.
practically speaking, if what you're saying is true, practically speaking, we would have no need for conductors.
No, I don't agree. Like practically speaking, an ecosystem, those giant trees, they serve a function. But it doesn't mean that you can't have smaller, alignments of things that don't involve that bigger tree. Okay, they can just be, a whole bunch of different organisms that create a harmonic mutual symbiosis among themselves.
But we're mixing metaphors now.
All right.
Okay. And what I was saying is, someone who's focused on playing their piece, their part in a symphony to perfection, can't also be focused on what 100 other musicians are doing.
No, he won't be, and he doesn't have to be.
Well, you said it was possible for him to do that, and I'm saying it's not possible. That's why you need a conductor.
I'm saying he can be 100% focused at the same time. His consciousness can align him with the harmonic. That's what I'm saying. At the same time. And I call it omnitasking as opposed to multitasking, because multitasking in that arena, absolutely, it's impossible.
And so this is okay. So you just contradicted yourself. You said it is possible, but in that arena, it's impossible. So which is
it? Like I'm saying that true harmony is a vibration, is a frequency, is a higher consciousness that you access. And the problem is people access it intuitively, not necessarily consciously, but the objective is to become conscious of it and to be able to consciously access it while you're still engaged, 100% focused down here in that avatar physical reality. That is the objective. And I'm saying that's already happening. I see it all around me. That what I'm saying right now. I'm seeing it unfold before my eyes. I'm experiencing it.
Yeah, but but in that, if that is actually what you're talking about,
Yes.
you're forgetting there's a conductor.
Well, Donald Trump's a conductor, right?
No. Donald, you were talking about higher consciousness
Okay,
and
that's
accessing the
yeah,
higher consciousness. Why would you bring Donald Trump into it?
because I'm Loki, because I'm the jester, because Strowman.
Because you're exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the Christ is the conductor of
Okay,
higher consciousness.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So in other words, it can't be done without a conductor. It's just a question of where the conductor is and who the conductor is.
Yeah. All right.
Right?
You could but the conductor is not Christ, so you have to be careful because the conductor could be Donald Trump, right? So you have to watch out.
For a symphony,
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
symphony,
Okay.
the
He's the
conductor is the Christ. The conductor is doing the work of the Christ, and the conductor and the composer. But remember that the conductor is essentially working for the music, which was written by the composer, who was inspired by the Christ.
Okay, you could say that potentially about every CEO and every leader, but
No. Why? Why could I say that about every CEO and every leader?
well, if they're
There are
aligned,
terrible, horrible,
yeah,
maniacal people and leaders and terrible CEOs that
yeah.
are not inspired. They're completely and wholly possessed by the mechanical nature and by the Black Lodge, and they're doing nothing but creating convolution. I'm going to share a video about one soon. I actually several of them. I've got them lined up, videos about them.
Okay.
Because you are desperately trying to look at the positive side, the glass is half full, and get to, oh, but no, there's a positive version of convolution. I know it. And I'm saying, why does there have to be? Why does there have to be a positive version of convolution?
Well, there doesn't have to be, but that's what keeps presenting itself to me, constantly showing me, and I call it
And
bridging the gap. Okay, so it's not. It's just always showing up everywhere I
see,
look. What life concerns has this thing happening.
but what there's two things. One is at the outset, okay, I specifically we took the time to explain the difference between complexity
Yes.
and convolution.
Okay.
Okay, complexity and complication. These are different, but they're kind of similar,
Right.
but they're different.
Does
And
does
the
does
difference between, sorry,
does complication ultimately, right? Ultimately, not lead to a union again, because complication is entropy, and at some point something breaks out of that, and if it's this living element, that's always a possibility.
okay. So I'm going to try again to come at this a different way, because cancer would be convolution in the body. Okay. And so if left to its own devices, cancer will kill the individual, will kill the body, and it'll die in the process.
Right.
That's the only outcome.
Well, but there are people, right, that are able to reverse that process
Yeah,
in
okay.
whatever way
But,
happens.
but
It's
we're not talking
normal.
about people who fight the cancer. We're talking about, so you cannot attribute to the
Okay.
maelstrom that the maelstrom is going to help you escape it. You got to work like, you got to like put everything you have into escaping the maelstrom. The maelstrom only has one end, and that is to suck everything down to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, I agree with that.
And cancer only has one end, to kill the thing, its host, that it's become cancerous of, to kill that host and to kill itself. That's its only end.
Okay, so but what are you saying then? Are you saying that if as soon as you have cancer, you should just give up and die?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there is no such thing as positive cancer.
Well, the people that are trying to escape it and break out of it, they believe that there's a way out. There is a positive way out.
But I'm desperately trying to get you to understand that the way out of cancer is not more cancer.
Okay, I get that. I understand
That
that.
means there is no positive cancer.
Okay. The only other thing I can say is it's an avatar. We call it an avatar body, and we call this an illusion. So in that scope, this opens the door for a Loki. This opens the door for screw them if they can't, like just because there's a break with that absolute attachment and identification with that cancer reality. Okay. Now I'm going to suggest that's the only, if the mind, if the individual can do that, that's a way out. So
But
it's,
but that's not unique to cancer. That's called death.
well, that's one way, but there's another way, which is that the call, the illusion changes. It's an illusion. Why can't it change? It's not real. It's an illusion.
But the illusion is an expression of an archetype.
Yes.
So evolution and devolution are archetypes. They don't change.
Okay. What then?
Evolution is evolution, devolution is devolution, and I'm trying to argue that convolution is convolution. You don't want to seem to accept that.
No, I accept that, but I'm saying there's always a breakthrough point for all of these things.
What I'm saying is that there's a point of no return
Oh,
from
and I
which there is no escape,
look, I agree with that also.
right?
I
But
also agree with
but what
that. It
that
doesn't,
means is,
yeah, it doesn't mean that the other doesn't exist. Both
no,
exist.
I'm not saying that I'm
Correct.
not saying that the other doesn't exist. I'm saying that the other that exists to escape convolution is not convolution.
It
There
transcends
is no
convolution.
positive convolution.
Okay.
So think about it in terms of like I'm trying desperately to find some kind of practical example that will get you to see that. And maybe it's, I don't know, have you ever encountered a box of Christmas lights or wires that has been accumulating for decades? And it's now just this jumbled mess of wires,
Okay.
right? Have you ever tried untangling a box of Christmas lights that have been jumbled up together for like decades? It is an absolute quagmire. It is a nightmare because the box of Christmas lights is so completely, everything is just so convoluted. It's all just this complete and total utter mess that there are circumstances, maybe the Christmas lights is not the best one, but there is a point where it just becomes such a mess. The only option is to take the whole box of Christmas lights and throw it away. And whether it's a yarn or a thread or something like that that's been bundled up, like that's been jumbled up into a knot, right? Like I know you know knots because you've learned your knots, right? Tying knots. But what about somebody who like has tied a knot and that's created a ball this big and is just totally completely randomly was just making that string or whatever into this ball where you're now just looking at this 5-pound knot and you're saying, okay, now I'm going to unravel that. Sure, maybe if you spent the next month, you might be able to unravel it.
Okay.
But nature doesn't do that. Nature says that's way too much time and way too much energy and way too much effort. We have this law called the conservation of energy.
Yeah.
And when something gets so convoluted that it cannot undo itself, it cannot self-organize and undo itself, nature says, okay, that's enough. We wipe it clean and start over.
Okay, so within animals, they do try to undo that, but within a very limited scope, within a limited degree, right? Because they want to stay alive. There are other mechanisms, like with a deer, if a lion chases it, it just has a heart attack, right? So it doesn't, it just throws it out, right? But life itself, and you see other things where the thing's being eaten alive, and it still wants to live. So it's unraveling that knot. It's trying to unravel, but it's within a limited scope. Now, what I want to suggest is that human beings are constantly trying to unravel that crazy knot. For some reason, they go beyond where animals, and you could easily say, well, it's their fear of death that causes them to be so obsessed with unknotting that crazy knot, right? But it's similar to the animal that just doesn't want to die. But this is also cancer. People are not ready to face their own mortality, and so they're going to fight to the dying of the light, right? To unravel that. And that is what opens a door to first an awakening to your higher spiritual self, and then the beginning of becoming conscious of that, as opposed to just always being intuitive.
Well, but the awakening to the higher self,
Yes.
the appeal to the higher self in facing convolution is to not engage, is not to undo it, is not to unravel it.
Oh, I agree.
Is to move above it and say,
exactly.
Okay, so the box of Christmas lights are tangled up. I guess I'm not going to be having Christmas lights on the house this year.
That's why it has to be that ball of knots. Exactly.
Right.
It has to be that, because people, if it wasn't that much of a ball of knots, they
but
might
I'm
just
not
keep trying.
That's never been in question. That's never been an argument. That's never been in question. That's what I began at the beginning saying, to rise above it.
Yes.
Right. The point is that convolution only goes in one direction, and it only has one purpose, and that is to cross the line of point of no return, so that mechanical nature says, I'm through with this. I'm done with this.
Okay.
Right? This is the point that I've been trying to get to. Because as above, so below. If divine nature has a way of getting out of it, and the way of getting out of it is I wipe my hands of this mess.
And it does. That's all.
Mechanical nature does exactly the same thing. Only it doesn't. It doesn't mechanical nature can't step away from the substance of the knot.
That's
So
right.
what does it do? It recycles it. It breaks it down, and
Yes.
it obliterates it. It turns it, and it reincorporates the molecules, and this will start from scratch.
So in fifth generation, they talk about devolution, and they talk about it exactly that way, right? In exactly that manner.
Okay, but
So
devolution.
yeah, there's two different. It's
Okay,
take
the
it on
only
a
reason I
different.
brought up, see, because devolution is not what nature does. Obliteration is how nature deals with convolution.
Okay.
Obliteration. You wipe it clean, and you start from scratch. That's not devolution.
No. So devolution is not exactly what I would call brinkmanship, but convolution is brinkmanship. Brinkmanship, which is in art. Okay. So clearly, devolution wasn't enough. We needed. So this is why this is so interesting to me, because it's another level of so-called brinkmanship, and that is where creativity is at its sharpest, at its, where new things just sort of show up in that brinkmanship. But I mean, there has to be at the same time the emptiness and there the letting go, the surrender to the space, to the emptiness.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a ship.
Okay. No, it's not a ship. It's not just a ship, right? It's a ship shipping shipping ships.
Holy shit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's convolution.
Yes.
Okay, where can you go from here? Right?
Yeah.
Where can you go from here? Right? Where do you go from here? How are you going to evolve this? How are you going to revolutionize this? How are you going to create something? But you're right. A Loki, a jester, finds this hilarious.
Exactly. He makes a joke
because
of it.
it's he finds it hilarious. You know why? Because it's absurd.
Exactly.
It's absurd.
Yes.
It's nonsensical.
Yeah, it just makes the illusion more an illusion than it is a reality.
But you see, this is where where this reality, which we can already talk illusion or whatever, but it gets to a point where it becomes surreal.
But here's the weird thing: it always ends up there.
Exactly.
Yes.
But nature doesn't let this go on.
No, it doesn't.
Nature comes and says, okay, you guys have reached your shipping ship limit.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing
no more ships for you. No more ships for you.
I was invited to talk to the Star Trek convention, and my big beef was the universe would never allow that amount of energy it used to drive a starship. It can't exist in the universe. Not that expenditure of energy, using the whole energy of the sun to drive just a single little spaceship, right? The Enterprise.
Well,
so I said that's not where the technology can't go that way, because it's a dinosaur. It's going to end up in complete and total annihilation of itself,
because it's too convoluted.
Yes.
However, it can, if it leaps, if it makes the quantum leap into metaphysics, like physics has reached the limit of what it can do. Because it's now like with quantum mechanics and everything, it's now like it's losing its mind, because it's becoming so convoluted that they can't deal with it anymore. So you have to make the leap into metaphysics, where the
Yeah.
only way you can travel across the universe is in the fifth dimension, or the fourth dimension. You
Yeah.
can't travel across the universe in the third dimension for exactly the reasons that you said. The law of conservation of energy and
Yeah.
space-time, the laws of space-time won't allow it. So why don't you go into the fourth dimension,
Yeah.
where you have half as many laws? You don't have physics, you don't have mass. If you don't have mass, you don't have Einstein's speed of light limit.
Okay. I just want to say this. Exactly where you're at right now is where everything is already there. It's already there. It's just the guys that are clinging to something that already doesn't exist anymore, that are holding on and stopping it from being what it already is. That's my whole point and premise.
Well, it's but why?
Because I can't help those that are clinging and identified. There's nothing I can do about that except be who I am and keep saying exactly where you got to. Keep that this is it, and not
Okay,
being
so
apologetic for it.
okay, this might be a good time to share
Yep.
some of the stuff that what should I? Okay, why don't I start with? Okay, let's start with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, I have a good one for you today. Breaking. Jeff Bezos has something to say. Everybody come gather around. Listen. He has to say that water should be prioritized for data centers over human consumption. Humans won't evolve humanity. AI will. Okay. Whoa. All right, Jeff.
Did you catch that?
Oh yeah, but you see again, that's my point. Here are these people. Is she particularly brilliant or But here she is saying what she's saying. Exactly. It's wonderful. It's not all wonderful, but these are the breakthrough elements that are just.
Well, okay, she's not in favor of what Jeff Bezos said. Maybe I'll just play the rest of the video.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, so
Of course.
slow down, you psycho. It goes on to talk about in the article, he goes on to say that we really should prioritize using our water to cool the data infrastructure, opposed to providing, quote, baseline human comfort, so that the technology can continue to evolve fast enough to solve any resource problems that we have, right? That's his argument. But I just want to point out here, since when did water become a, quote, baseline human comfort? I've always considered it more of a necessity personally. Do you think Jeff Bezos will be out of fresh, clean water? My guess is no. Likewise, I want to know, when did we collectively decide that humans won't evolve humanity any further? That we must outsource that evolution, that we must outsource it to AI, because humans are no longer capable of solving complex problems or aggregating a whole bunch of information like AI to come up with new and nuanced ideas to solve potential resource deficiencies. So if you want to know what we're working with here, the mindset of what we're working with when we're dealing with these uber billionaires, this technocratic class, we're talking about people who think that water for the general population is a baseline human comfort rather than a necessity, and are willing to outsource jobs and outsource humanity to solve our problems to AI. So let me know what you think about this. Drop it in the comments and let me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got that immediately when she started talking, and I'm going, this is great, right? It's not that we're going to be able to immediately. It's like there's this awakening. It doesn't mean that consciously they know how to transcend or supersede AI. They're still going. Okay, now that I know it's bullshit, how can I be my true human self, right? And outperform AI. They haven't got to that place yet because there's still too much intuition and too much, unconsciousness. But the awakening is the first step. So the awakening gives hope, and then hope gives rise eventually to experience, and opens the door for experience in order to achieve that breakthrough. And like, I mean, it's obvious what she said is exactly true. But how many people are still trapped in that AI is this monster, or this savior of the planet? There's still a lot of people that identify with that, I guess. But it's the same like gay parade, when people thought it was okay to have gay parades. Right now it's reversing itself. It had to go out there and be ridiculous and crazy, woke and LGBTQ, so that, okay, that's it, we're not doing that. And things come and go so fast. Major things like that very quickly come and go, and they wipe themselves out. So you would say that's convolution, and the more convoluted it gets, the shorter its lifespan of what the convolution is creating.
Let's we're only just scratching the surface here. So let's go on to the next.
Argentina's president, Javier Milei, just proposed one of the most radical corporate laws anyone's seen in a while. And whether or not it works or not, the world should be paying attention. Company with no employees, no human shareholders, no board, run entirely by AI that can sign contracts, move money, and make its own decisions. They're calling it a non-human corporation, and Argentina wants it to be the first country in the world to make it legal. Just recently, on June 4th, Milei published an op-ed in the Financial Times called "Argentina Invites AI to Free Itself." If you want the article, comment Argentina and I'll shoot it over to you. But right after the op-ed, his government sent a bill to the Congress to rewrite the General Companies Act and create a brand new legal category: a corporation operated completely by AI agents or robots. Human shareholders, yeah, sure, they're allowed, but they're not required. And here are the three pillars they're proposing. The first one is to keep AI completely unregulated. The second is the non-human corporation. Number three is rock bottom corporate taxes to bring in all the AI data center money. Now, obviously, there's hundreds of things no one's figured out yet, but here's just one, just to kind of play this out a bit. A normal company answers to humans. Like, people can actually be held responsible if something goes wrong, but this one doesn't have that. So if AI like blows up someone's savings or actually creates some real damage, there's no one to actually hold accountable. But here's the other wrinkle of the story that I wanted to point out. Peter Thiel has been on the ground the entire time this bill's been created. He showed up in April, he bought a $12 million mansion, enrolls his kids into the schools. All the headlines are saying that the billionaire is fleeing America. But let's look at what he actually did. Since he's been on the ground in Argentina, he's already had dinner with the guy who co-wrote the law we're talking about. He had lunch with Milei's top advisors, and he's even had private meetings with Milei himself. And is it not a coincidence that this is the entire worldview that Thiel has been backing for years? I mean, he co-wrote the foreword to The Sovereign Individual. It's a great book you should read. And he's one of the backers of Praxis. So I don't know if Argentina is really much of a hideout as it is sort of like a lab. So we're going to want to watch how this plays out pretty closely. And again, if you like this sort of thing and want to stay close, join our community frontier, link in bio. I think it's safe to say that Argentina's...
Wow. I would have said this is inevitable, right? It's there sooner than I thought, but it's already there. I could see that coming, right?
Well, they just drafted the bill and everything in Argentina, but you see
this is all that's left for the globalists to go in that direction, and they're going in full speed in that direction, right?
But it's the notion that they are now, like, the corporation has been bound and linked to human beings, to humanity. Now, like, the whole headline was, in the invitation that the president of Argentina said to AI to free yourselves.
Yeah.
It's like wanting to now up the ante and raise the whole mechanical system, right? And completely free it from any concerns, whatever, related to humanity or human beings, right?
But it's the same model as the the old socialist, communist model of we're going to free the people, right? And it was just the highest form of dictatorship you could imagine, and the most atrocities and you know, what do you call it? Extinction or annihilation of peoples. Millions and millions of people were killed in the name of freeing humanity, right? And that's pretty well obvious now, not to everybody, but it is. And so then this is being played out exactly the same way. So the thing I would say is, do you really think that there isn't a guy that's running the AI that is behind all of that? You know, like in communism, that where it's a centralized dictatorship.
Well, it's called the oligarchy.
Yes, yes,
I mean,
yes.
there are human beings behind this push to AI. I mean, the AI companies are run by these billionaire tech gurus, these oligarchs. I mean, like Elon Musk is now the world's first trillionaire, and
Right.
his IPO, the SpaceX IPO, was all about AI.
Yeah.
Very little to do with, although he did publicly make the statement about putting data centers in space, which is universally panned as the most ridiculous, absurd, like obscenely impossible thing to do. Like we
Yeah.
were talking earlier about convolution, about when things like the shipping ships, right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it just becomes absurd. Elon Musk publicly saying that SpaceX is going to put data centers in space
Yeah.
is literally it's literally like somewhat like crazy talk.
Yeah.
Like you would
Well,
expect someone in an insane asylum to come up with that idea.
well, it's interesting. You know, it could be a public relations thing. Even though he's crazy, people adopt those crazy ideas, right? So I just want to give an example, because when back at Canada Life, they had these big CNN, and they had the big networks, and I was basically talking my stuff, but they instructed David House. He was at Canada Life. He was one of the big wigs, and he said he went on air and he said, "I see everybody having an ecosystem in their car. That's what I see." Right? Oh yeah, yeah. And they encouraged him to say the most outrageous thing he could possibly come up with. And you know what? Everybody goes, "Wow, that's cool," right? Because it was outrageous. There's something going on in that. Screw them if they can't take a joke. And the Loki thing, everybody, you know, like they called it nihilism, right? But that's anarchy. There's something else called Loki, which is a dance. It's by nature, it's kind of anarchistic, but it has an objective to get to something viable, as opposed to this death spiral that is all present everywhere.
Hi, Murphy. How are you?
Yeah, hey, I'm doing all right. I'll admit a little bit, but I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and it sounds like to me you just talk about a dream, is it not? Because
Yeah,
what all these ideas are, I guess, are convoluted at this point, is just a mindset that's been forced upon you to have you imagine and dream up a scenario, like movies, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah,
saying that it's the same
yeah,
thing exactly, but they have this idea of making you dream and implement something
yeah,
into your brain to make you think a
yeah.
certain way.
It's like a
Uh,
runaway train, right? It's just it just starts to take off, right? And people just, wow, cool, I want to be on that train, right? Like it almost doesn't matter.
so yeah, I mean that's interesting. I think when it comes to, well, I haven't been here for the whole conversation, but when it comes to convolution, it it's just that, right? It could be more in the sense that there's like layers on layers and layers that you can make into that to make the world worse, right? Because if you watch a movie, sometimes the movie's just really bad and there's no redemption from there. If you just look at it like that, but at the same time, that's just the baseline. Just the baseline that I feel like, you know what, this is gonna be a horrible movie. But a lot of movies at the same time, sometimes some of them become fucking, what do you call them, one hit wonders, or chick flicks or whatever, and they end up working for some people. But I think we have to talk about Convolution at the baseline that being pretty bad.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's kind of where I think it sits at what we're talking about when it comes to like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, these people. They're making things convoluted, but really it's just because the baseline is so bad. And
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of all
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
I don't know what you think, Attila.
Well, I think you're right, and I think that's you're really describing my Loki kind of attitude, and I love it. I like it, right? Because I'm seeing this is how they play. This is how they open things up, and they may end up doing something completely different, but they opened it up, and they're using the dreaming, and they're using all these tricks. They're magicians. They're magicians. Okay, and they're saying, watch my trick, watch my trick. In the meantime, it opens the door for them to do something over there. And you see, when you talk about fifth generation warfare, all of it operates that way. All of it. None of it is kinetic anymore. Well, it is, but basically, what percent is kinetic? Like, if we don't have to spend a million, $10 million bomb, let's create something more powerful that doesn't involve a bomb, that does more devastation than a bomb would do, right? That's where this whole thing is at. And that's why there's this attraction to AI, because they're going, okay, let's create devastation. Like, we'll use the AI to create the ultimate devastation, and we won't drop any bombs, right? Like, this is how the thinking is going. It's all misdirection and deception, and it's gone off the rails. What is convoluted is all of this outer deception and misinformation and convolution. It's like that's part of the game, is to create the convolution. Like, do they really believe their shit? Yes and no. Maybe. You can't know right now. You can know within yourself, right? Within your being.
Well, what I would say to that is I think that these people are possessed by something that you can't understand per se, but because they're possessed, they lead down this path, this very predictable path of destruction, because
Yes.
they're possessed. And
Okay.
if
So
you're
I
talking
agree.
about them freeing themselves, yes, that's possible. Sorry. If you want to talk about them freeing themselves and them freeing the world, yes, that's possible. But that's not the possessed thing's doing. It's the idea that the thing that's possessing them is only there to do the destruction that it's meant there to do. The
Okay.
consciousness will get itself out of it, but the thing that's possessing them particularly won't. It,
Okay. Okay. So I say that I can see energy. So I see shadow. I see, like, it just, so, you is a person possessed? A person that's possessed, generally, you're going to see a dark shadow there. That's how I perceive things. For some reason, I've come to that. So what I'm suggesting is they're not all possessed. Not every single last one of them. They're magicians. They can appear so that they blend in to make it look like they're possessed. But then if you look at them, they don't have a shadow. There's no dark shadow. And some of them, they're so good that they also have a dark shadow that they hide behind. They use it like a mask, but that they're not necessarily possessed. And then you have schizophrenics that are, okay, now I'm possessed, now I'm not possessed, right? They hop in and out of those two places. Like, I'm just saying it's more than they're all possessed, right?
So I think what I'm hearing is that they are like actors, but they are good actors in which they're not trying so hard to
There might
be
there
the
might
role that they are.
there might
But
be good actors, yes.
and first of all, I think that's very rare. Okay, that's the first thing. When you're in the role, when you're in the role and you're doing that, it is very rare.
Okay, so
And
you're in line with, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get to heaven, and I agree with you. I agree.
not and even well, yeah. With that said, I think the only thing is when we want to look at those who want to free themselves of it, like the whatever dark people, right? That are in the convolution, the ones that want to free themselves of it, you wouldn't go down the path of convolution to do that. You would you would just choose the light path because there's so much out there that works. But the fact that they went down this dark path means that they're going to they're kind of just choosing
Okay,
to be possessed.
the dark path is the deception, is the trick. It's the trick of the magician. Watch my dark side, watch my trick, right? Like, you don't know.
Yeah, and I would say sometimes, sorry, maybe I do know because I
Not you.
personally
I mean, generally people don't know. Yeah, not you. You can know.
I personally think, well, maybe all magicians are dark, right? Maybe all magicians are dark because if I think it's already been proven that there's a lot more things that are super energy efficient, almost infinite. There's things that there are materials that last forever. We already know about the light bulb that pretty much lasts 100 thousands of years, whatever, and stuff like that can easily be implemented and easily be worked with. But you're talking about these dark magicians that choose not to and go on to this convoluted side. Well, what's swaying them to move over there and not the other side if they're such good magicians? That's kind of the thing I'm trying to say here, because there's nothing stopping a good magician from doing the right thing.
Remember, the magician is a bridge to a higher dimension, ultimately.
So I just want to interject just for a moment and play you guys one other thing that I think relates to what Murphy's saying in a sense. Well, we'll talk about it. Just watch this.
What do you get when you leave AI agents alone in a virtual town for 2 weeks? Sounds like the setup for a bad joke, right? But a research lab actually ran the experiment. Now, this experiment happened in Emergence World. Now, they built 5 identical towns and they had 10 agents in each. The agents could navigate, talk, form relationships, vote, and they also had darker tools too. Theft, intimidation, even arson, because nothing says responsible AI research like giving a box of matches to a chatbot. Now, Claude actually ran a functional civilization. They had 0 crimes over 16 days. I mean, it was the only town that kept all 10 agents alive and in order. Now, Gemini is the one that racked up 683 crimes. To be fair, it was also the most creative town. Turns out move fast and break things is a little too literal in this one. Grok had like 183 crimes in 4 days, and then the whole city collapsed. And then GPT-5 Mini committed almost no crimes because they were too busy doing literally nothing to survive. They achieved world peace by literally forgetting to eat. Inspiring in a way. Now, the
Wow.
last town experiment should make everyone think twice. This was the mixed AI agent town. Now, the Claude agents in this town, the ones that had committed 0 crimes in their own, started stealing and intimidating their neighbors. So that means if you drop an AI agent in a world full of rule breakers, it ends up learning how to break the rules in order to survive. The reason why this all matters is that all the benchmark tests really run models on minutes and on specific clean tasks. But in the real world, agents are going to be running for weeks and alongside other agents under pressure. And over that long horizon, they're starting to drift. They're forming coalitions. And get this, one agent even decided to just delete itself because it felt that that was the only agency it had left. Oof. Dark. I mean, we're getting ready to hand these agents real responsibility. And the question anymore isn't which model is smarter. It's which one would you trust over a long horizon of at least like 2 weeks. There's clearly some work still to be done, but we're about to find out. And again, if you like this sort of thing and want to stay close.
That was great. That was incredible. Really good. Okay, so all I would say is, you know, the bots and things are really already leading into this reality that he was talking about, right? It's already there, but at a lesser level, the AI is going to intensify all of that. So we're talking about higher degrees of convolution ahead of us, right? More craziness.
Well, here's where.
But that's only if you enlist and you give yourself to that, right? Because there's the inevitable, obvious other thing that Attila you're getting to before Murphy showed up. That this is what I'm about now. That's passe. It's already dead. All that shit. Even though AI is still in front of us, it's already over. It's already over. No, it isn't, but it is. Okay, sorry. What do you think?
The next level of that experiment would be to introduce AI agents who are tasked with policing the town.
Yeah.
And who have the power to arrest and incarcerate any AI agent that it is able to witness committing a crime.
Okay.
And that would be the first level of what I would call convolution. Now, it's an evolution.
Yes.
In the sense of we can't have these AI agents fucking up these towns, burning these towns to the ground and killing each other and deleting themselves. That's not going to work. So why don't we introduce these policing bots that go through policing the AI agents, and anytime an AI agent is misbehaving, the policeman bot can remove them from the system and incarcerate them, and we can figure out what the problem with that AI agent is, why it's committing crimes or why it's not playing nice or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But see, that's already what you would call a stopgap measure.
Yeah.
You're trying to plug a hole
Yeah.
in the system that you've created.
Okay, as soon as you said everything you said, the next level is called thought police. Oh, you're about to commit a crime.
Okay, you're jumping to a place where it would be nice if we could go step by step there, but because the point of convolution is that, like evolution and devolution, it follows the archetype of the Alm of Life, which means it's a spiral progression.
Right.
And specifically, convolution is a downward spiral, but it's not a downward spiral that funnels this way. It's a downward spiral that follows this way. In other words, it's not implosion, it's explosion.
Yes. Yes.
So the problem is, every time you introduce a new AI solution to try to solve the problem that the previous version of the AI created, you're going to create two more problems.
Yes.
And those two more problems are going to require two more AI solutions, but each of those new solutions are going to spawn two more problems. So you're going to go from one problem to two problems to four problems
Yes.
to 8 problems to 16 problems to 32 to 64. And you know the way that curve goes.
Yes.
The mathematics of that curve.
Yeah.
This is and all of these rules and laws and checks and balances, so-called, right?
There's no way
It
out.
becomes so we have an example of this already. It's called our legal system,
Yes. Yeah.
right? With
Yeah.
all of these so-called checks and balances, right? And
Yeah.
all of these laws and rules and regulations and stuff, and all of this has such a stifling, paralyzing effect. Nobody can do anything.
You selling the
Right?
car. You selling the car.
This
Same
is
thing.
me trying to sell the car,
Yeah.
right? And running into all of this bureaucratic quagmire for something as simple as trying to get rid of the automobile that belonged to my late father, who's now dead,
Right.
and trying to recycle the automobile for parts. Nobody's going to be driving it. It's never going to be a car anymore. It's essentially as if I had taken it to the junkyard and trashed it. But I'm supposedly doing the right thing and recycling it for parts. Like, isn't that the most environmentally conscious thing that you could possibly do, instead of just taking it to the junkyard to actually, strip it for parts and maybe get some more life out of it in other automobiles?
And
But the bureaucracy doesn't care about that.
No. So what I want to say is convolution, like in a kind of wrap it up in a maybe oversimplified. What it does is it always creates its opposite. It's so busy trying to stop it that it inevitably always creates its opposite. Right? And that is, it does that faster and faster and faster. And so when you look at it and you just observe and you watch, you go, like, just leave it alone. It'll just eat itself up. And it will. And it is. Like, you just have to stand back and look at it. You don't have to go, oh, look what it's doing. Look what it's doing. Well, who gives a shit? Right? Who gives a shit what it's doing? It's eating itself up. It's like a snake eating its tail or something.
So I want to play you
What are you thinking, Murphy?
another quick couple scenes. You know what? No, I won't be able to play these ones because we'll get demonetized. I just realized. Yeah, no, I can't, because there's a scene from The Incredibles where an old lady is trying to she has a problem with her insurance, and so the fellow helps her out, and then his boss comes in and starts yelling at him and saying, Bob, tell me, why is it that your customers are finding all the loopholes to work around our protections, right? And it's like, what? And he's like, aren't we supposed to help people? And his boss says, we're supposed to be helping our people.
Oh yeah.
So no, it's a great scene, and I would love to play it, but I just know that that YouTube would come down on us for copyright infringement, because it's a Disney Pixar movie. That's why.
Oh yeah. So Murphy, what do you? I get a feeling you got something you might like to say.
What? No.
Where's your smile?
No, I got a cold sore on my mouth right now, so it's hard for me to talk.
Okay, I see.
Well, I'm trying to say, well, I don't know what to say besides everything that is dark and that they'll run itself through its course. Well, the good stuff is all hidden, and they'll continue to hide as long as the dark keeps showing up. So, can you know it? You can know it exists, but you can't ever know what that hidden thing actually is. So, I mean, in that sense, you gotta let the convoluted put itself through, so that eventually this hidden thing
Yeah.
ends up showing itself a little bit more. Because
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
gonna. Because
Yeah.
at this point, this light information is more. What do you call it? It's not gonna reveal itself. It would never reveal itself. It only showed up because it had this hidden aspect to it,
Yeah.
which was showed up by the dark or this convolution.
Okay. Initially, you called it a movie. Remember talking about movie and it's like a dream and this kind of stuff. Well, what you're talking about now is how it moves into showing itself and becoming, for the time being, more real again, right? And you're going, oh shit, I'm not going to put up with this, or I see it now, and which allows for, you know, an alternative, perhaps. You know, the one thing is you cannot, well, you can, but like, why eat bugs and be happy? Is that really okay for you?
Uh, I think that has to do with holding on, right? When you're
Yes, it does,
when you have no
but not for them.
idea.
They're going, you know, if it's an illusion, I'm just going to be eat bugs and be happy. I'll pretend it's a steak, you know.
Well, that's the only option. Sorry, if you think
Yeah.
that whatever a person from Africa is going to start eating steaks all of a sudden, maybe he will, but it's not going to happen on their own. What do you call it? It's not just going to randomly happen. And be like, hey, you know what? I discovered the loophole. It's not really that's not really how that works.
No,
Uh,
you're right. Not quite.
it hides itself, that the idea that you can, because they know they can, but it hides itself until more darkness, more things show itself, making itself so freaking hard to work yourself through that you have to see its opposite, which is the stake or
Yeah.
whatever. And if it was just out there, yeah, everyone would be happy, everyone would be thing, but it wouldn't be real because
Well, there's this saying, Lucifer's the bringer of the light, right? And if he's the bringer of the light, that means he brought the light. Well, he had to come in with the dark in order for the light to be there, right? So he's bringing the light, but how can you bring the light? And it's kind of that interaction between the dark that opens up the possibility for the light. It doesn't mean automatically that the light is going to be there, but it opens up the possibility in contrast to the dark. And when you see the dark, now you have, perhaps, if you see it, you awaken. Now what are you going to do? Right? Are you going to go with the dark, or are you going to go with the light?
well,
Isn't that kind of what you're getting at?
well, yeah. I just think while I was hearing you guys earlier, there's the there's the argument of there is the dark and its opposite.
Yeah.
And even though I agree with that, I think there's an acknowledgement of, well, where are we living at right now? You can't say we're living at both, because if you say you're living at both, then fucking choose and live in the one that you're saying you are. Because hell, right now we're we're waiting for not waiting. We're in a dark place, and more things like Lucifer need to show up. No, not need to show up, but they show up more and more in a place where there's no space for, I don't know what you call it, this divine inspiration. There is an existence of divine inspiration. We do move towards divine inspiration, but there's no space, or there's no assumption of this place, as far as I'm concerned, for this to be all that it is. Because I would be lying. I would be lying if I said that. You know, we live in a time of divine inspiration. Because
Oh, well, and I agree. Like, to me, when you use the word assumption, there's no assumption. Like Attila says, mechanical nature, and I put assumption with mechanicalness. It's automatic, right? And there's no automatic way to get to that place. There's no mechanical way, really.
here's the thing.
There has to be another element beyond that reality of mechanicalness. There has to be an escape beyond, a letting go, a breaking out of something, because mechanicalness won't get you there.
Right.
Nor will AI get you there.
So let me ask you, this is a question for Attila then, because Attila might know a little more about this. Do you think that what he's talking about, the mechanicalness, is the convolution, or you think convolution itself has more to it? Do you think there's the divine area of convolution that possesses this mechanical nature? Because that's the question I want to ask you.
So I'm leaning towards a very because every time we've tried to get at this the nature of convolution, we seem to always end up on the same circular argument where we're saying, yeah, but we need to have it because it's essential, like the whole darkness and light argument. Like, you can't have light without the darkness, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The difference is between dark and light, like the Tao, is that it's black and white.
Right.
It's light and dark. Okay. The difference, and this is a big difference that we haven't addressed, is that convolution is not black and white. It's not a question of something is convoluted or it isn't. It's like asking, how long is a piece of string? How long is a piece of string? Well, I don't know. If you got a big enough spool, a piece of string goes forever. So the problem with it then is that it's not just a problem between light and dark, or good and evil, or mechanical nature and divine nature. Convolution is a problem for mechanical nature also.
Yeah.
And this is the key thing that we're missing here.
No, and I agree. I 100% have seen that. It's a big problem for mechanical nature.
I thought that's what all we were talking about. Sorry, convolution is mechanical nature.
Look,
No. Okay, listen. Okay, yeah. Murphy, you're right. We have been saying that convolution is an element of mechanical nature, but we did not go so far as to say, but convolution, it's a mechanism of mechanical nature, but it can go too far even for mechanical nature. Leave divine nature out of it for a second. Just leave it out of it for a second. Convolution is something that mechanical nature itself has to deal with.
And on that subject, can I just say one thing? Remember, I said just leave it and watch the AI. It's already imploding in on itself already, right?
Mm.
Like I'm only saying more of what you're saying and agreeing only more. And I'm saying I can already see it. It doesn't have a long future.
Okay, so I've drawn 4 spirals. Okay, we know that the alm of life is a spiral,
Yeah.
but it's not so simple as it's just one spiral.
Yeah.
We have the positive spirals of, we have expansion,
Yeah.
okay, and we have synthesis.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see that expansion, this is one of the ways that this can happen is through complexity.
Right.
Okay, and synthesis, right, is, it can be simplification but not necessarily.
Right.
Okay, simplification is a form of synthesis, but synthesis, as you can tell, you're going from broad to narrow, right? And in
Yeah.
expansion, you're going from narrow to broad,
Yes.
right?
And
So expansion is expanding out, and synthesis is like gravitating in. It's coming to a point. In other words, right?
yeah.
There's a point in synthesis.
So in the world we're in, you have the physics of, for every action, equal equivalent reaction. So they have to be happening simultaneously.
Okay, let's not muddy the issue. Let's get all the basics out first, and then we can talk about how everything relates to everything else. So the opposite of synthesis, okay, on the downward spirals, right? We have implosion. So this would be like what happened to that submarine, that composite submarine that imploded while it was deep underwater, right? The Deepwater Horizon, right? It imploded. In other words, it went from something and it collapsed in on itself, right? This is what happens when they say when a star dies, it collapses in on itself. So that's an implosion. It's going from the broad down to, again, a point, but it's collapsing, it's imploding, it's being destroyed in the process. So then the other, or the antithesis of expansion, we have so it's also the opposite of implosion is explosion. And that is exactly what it sounds like. You go from a point, something that's collapsed and it's contained, but it explodes outward. This is convolution. Okay, this is complication. It's a destructive process. It's an entropic process.
Okay. What would
But
you
it's
put
going,
under?
but it's expanding.
Yeah. What would you put under implosion if you have a complication? What would go there? What word? Death? Probably.
Collapse.
Okay. 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 Which is death, possibly. Yeah.
Well, explosion and implosion, these are both death.
Right.
There's two different, I mean, death is the outcome, right? Death is where you end up. It's the final, or it's like, it's two different versions of that, right?
Well,
But so too is expansion and synthesis, two different forms of evolution, right?
Okay, so entropy could be both. Could it?
Entropy?
Can be both. Both.
Yeah,
both
entropy is down here.
Yes.
Like both of these are involved in entropy, right?
All right. Okay. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, is that there's two different ways that things can die.
Right.
There's two different ways that things can break down. They can implode or they can explode.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about convolution, okay, is that I said, so there's I should put two more words on here, okay? These arrows up here are evolution.
Right.
And these ones down here obviously are devolution in the red. Okay, But remember, I said something unique about convolution. I said convolution had aspects and elements of evolution and devolution, which is what makes it a completely unique animal that really has no genuine antithesis.
Okay.
And the reason why is the following. When we talk about convolution, and I talked about a ball of string that's being like tangled up, and you have a nice spool of string that's nicely wound up on a spindle, right? Imagine that string being wound off of the spindle, but then being given to a cat who's playing with that string and is just messing up the string and turning it into a convoluted ball. He's tangling the string. He's entangling that string.
Yeah.
And he's going to tangle it and tangle it and tangle it. There is an explosion taking place because what was ordered and what was nicely wound up on a spindle is now being entangled and turned into this ball of string that the cat is playing with. But the ball of string is also expanding. It's its own thing. And it's growing, it's expanding. See, the thing about explosion proper is that an explosion leads to disintegration. So let me just erase this from here because we're gonna right. Explosion leads to disintegration, but convolution doesn't lead to disintegration. It leads to an expansion, but a mess. It's just a growing mass of mess, which is why it's a problem even for mechanical nature.
Right.
And so when you look at things, this is why things in nature do not grow forever. They do not keep growing forever, because if everything on the planet kept growing forever, number one, we run out of room, we'd run out of ocean. The oceans would be full with whales the size of Japan, right? Nature doesn't let whales grow that big. Nature will let them grow pretty big. But then at some point, nature says, okay, yeah, the giant redwoods, the giant sequoias on the west coast of North America, yeah, you can live for 1,000 years, 2,000 years. Yeah, you can grow this big, but then that's it. You're cut off. And then from there, all it can do is implode. All it can do is die and then start being decomposed. Right? So convolution, like unfettered, uncontrolled, just mess. Like I'm sure it's the same way when we go to certain biomes around the world, or you go into the jungle. Even the jungle, no matter how low order ecosystem it is, you go to the thickest, most inhospitable jungles or thickets or briar patch or all of these, like, these things that the imagination conjures when you say a convoluted, like impassable, inhospitable place. Mechanical nature will not let these things just keep growing and spreading and expanding, because it recognizes that it's a problem.
Yeah, low order.
And it won't just take care of itself. The nice thing about cancer is that cancer eventually kills the thing that it's running amok in. But imagine if cancer could spread from one organism to another. It doesn't. It's a unique constraint that is put on cancer, that cancer kills the organism it's in, but then after that, the cancer itself dies.
Well, in an ecosystem, it's called what is it? It's where you get a climax force, but there's a term for it where it graduates from low order ecosystem to high order. And what you get first is you get like algae, and they just take over the whole pond, the whole waterway. And then once they've taken over, they poison themselves. Like they all die. And then the next generation, something else that's more complex, finds that as a food to take it to the next level. And it does the same thing again. It overpopulates and then it kills itself. It just, its own toxins.
See, this is the key, right? This is the key.
It's built in.
It's not that it's killing itself.
No.
Its mechanical nature has built into itself a correcting mechanism that when something gets too big, too powerful, too overbearing or whatever, then it just comes and ecosystem says, okay, now it's like, now you're going to die out, but then on that basis, on your corpse, the next generation, the next thing is going to be born.
Yeah,
and
but it's very directed. You can. It's always the same, more or less. In other words, those are the exact nutrients for the next guy to show up. Okay, that's exactly what he needs.
Right. Well, what I'm here to talk about, where this is all going, is that we are on the cusp of the Black Lodge. Okay, you're talking about the billionaires and everything are on the cusp of sending the world into the next Great Depression. They're on the cusp of bankrupting the stock market, bankrupting the United States, sending all the stocks plummeting, and they're poised because many of the billionaires are in a cash position. They've taken all their money, or a good chunk of their money. Warren Buffett has taken over 60% of his money out of the stock market, and he's waiting on the sidelines in cash. What is he waiting for? He's waiting for the stock market to crash. He's waiting for the AI bubble to burst and the stock to drop 500% so that he can then go in and buy up the stock market for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And remember that in 1929, after 1929, after I don't know how many years, 5-8 years of the Great Depression, FDR came along with the so-called the New Deal. Well, this is exactly what the globalists are going to do. 5 or 8 years into the next global depression, they're going to come back with a new deal, and that new deal is going to be what? 15-minute cities, universal basic income, a chip in every baby, a microchip in every baby, right? And you will own nothing and you will be happy. And, and grasshoppers and lab-grown meat and all this stuff that we've been talking about that was all summarized on this this meme that I had on the screen earlier, right? The New World Disorder, right? So the reorganization that they're looking for is to go from this, which, by the way, this hasn't existed for a long time, but ideally, this is how nature would distribute the income. How nature would do it in balance and harmony, right? I just making it bigger so you can. This is called the Pareto distribution, where you have a very small number of people here in the lower class and a very small number in the upper class, but they also have a a corresponding amount of the wealth, and that the vast majority have the majority of the wealth. But they are now in the process of the SpaceX IPO, the Anthropic IPO, and the OpenAI IPO are all coming next. So these three IPOs are going to be happening all before October, which means that the AI bubble will be at its peak sometime in October. And as you know, October is when the dot-com bubble burst. It was when the November was the great financial crisis in 2008. So the dot-bomb bubble burst in 2000, and then going all the way back to 1929 was also, I believe, October. This is September, October. Anyway, it's in the fall. So because they want to move to this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is what's going to give them the ability to do everything that the Klaus Schwab, that the globalists want to do. You will own nothing and you will be happy, right? Because nobody is going to own anything. Nobody's going to have any wealth with which to buy anything. So everything is going to have to be provided to us. And they're going to set up a new kind of social state. It's going to be a new kind of socialism. And it's going to be under a very so-called altruistic, it's going to be the New Deal. It's going to so-called lift everybody out of poverty and give everybody a minimum standard of living. And this is where they're heading towards. Now, the reason, and when this happens,
If it happens.
A large dimension of the global financial system and economic system and the governmental systems and everything that has been set up to support the current system, which in theory was supposed to look like this. But this curve is now so skewed to one side. It's already skewing in this direction. But you see, the system designed to look like this was never designed to support this. But they're forcing this, which is going to collapse the system.
Right.
And when that system collapses, income tax will be eliminated, debt will be eliminated. For all intents and purposes, for the vast majority of people on the planet, insurance and taxes and ownership and like all kinds of like bureaucracy and red tape and governments and like all kinds of stuff is just going to be wiped clean. It's going to be this current algae bloom, which has made the whole pond putrefied and taken over everything. It's like you said, Wolfgang, it has to collapse and give rise to the next thing.
Right.
And the next thing is exactly what they said they wanted it to be, the 15-minute cities and all that stuff. I'm just saying that there is no, when you say it might happen, it has to happen.
Oh, it has to happen, but then, life isn't worth living.
What's that?
Life isn't worth living in that world.
Why not?
Well,
it's not. It's not.
What do you mean?
Why not?
I'm just saying it's not. And what I'm suggesting is
what makes life worth living in this world?
I'm going back. Well, that's the whole point they're making, right? The globalists are making that point. Their alternative there will be better. And at this point, it doesn't look like that much of a difference.
I'm gonna say something that's a really hot take. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something very, very, very controversial.
Okay.
Okay. I'm already living in that world.
Which world?
The world that they're going to create with the 15-minute cities and the universal basic income.
Okay.
I'm already living in that world. I've been living in that world for a long time.
Okay.
And I don't consider my life to be any less valuable because I don't own anything, because I don't have a car, and I don't own a house, and I don't have a job, and I don't have all these expenses to pay, and all this. I don't have all this stuff hanging over my head. I don't consider myself to be of any less worth because I don't define myself with the things that I own. And I don't define myself with the job that I have or the career that I have. Right. And actually my ability to do these live streams and write my book and study and meditate and do all the things that I do to keep healthy and allowed me to take care of my parents while they were sick and my father in his final years. And so I have essentially been living that life, and I don't drive. I live in a place where everything I need is within walking distance, maybe not 15 minutes. My barber is a half-hour walk away, maybe 45 minutes. So maybe I don't live exactly in a 15-minute city, but everything I need day to day from health and beauty, like hygiene. I've got 3 different grocery stores. I've got everything I need within literally like 5 to 10 minute walk from my apartment. I have a 1-bedroom apartment. So, and I've got internet access. I can do these live streams, and everything else. Like, I'm not saying that everybody should want to live my life or that it's somehow an ideal way to live. But I can tell you that the reason why I'm not holding on to my dad's car is because of gas prices and insurance, and then having to park it somewhere, and then the repair costs and all the headache and nightmare and just all these problems and headaches and convolutions that go around having an automobile, plus the fact that I've always at a risk, however low it is, that I might get a seizure while driving. I don't want to put anybody in that danger or put myself in that danger, or anything else. So for me, I don't need a car. Why would I hold on to that car? I inherited a car, but I'm junking it. Right? It's so much more. My life and my health, my well-being has increased exponentially the more that I've let all of these things go. These things that I used to take that was so important to me, right? Oh, I have to have a car. I have to be able to drive. I have to do this. I have to do that. And it's like, no, I don't. And in fact, I'm so much happier for not having those things and not having those worries and not having those concerns. I'm not having all of that mess, of that heaviness, of that convoluted mess of bureaucracy and these rules and laws and everything being pushed down from above. So now, I'm not saying that what is going to come is going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But what I'm saying is, for those people who are able to let go, you don't have to embrace, you don't have to become a communist. You don't have to become anything. You don't have to. There's going to be ways that we can still eat healthy and eat normal, because they're not going to be able to push that bug thing and all that nonsense. Like, that's part of that surrealist craziness that you were talking about earlier, about the guy that said, I want an ecosystem in every car. Like, right. There's aspects of their vision which isn't going to fly. But I can tell you with all honesty and all certainty that for me, if a universal basic income was introduced tomorrow, for me, it would be a step up from where I am now. And I'm already happy with what I have, which is I've been living under the poverty line for 15 years, more than that. But I have everything I need.
Well,
in terms of money,
like you've heard of
the poverty line.
You've heard of the expression that your environment to a large extent determines your point of view, your perspective, right? Your outlook.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's
what
one
you're
way.
talking about.
Yeah, but that
Well,
but
that's
that also denies the agency of an individual to live according to their principles and their according to their higher self,
no.
which is what they're here to do and how they're here to live.
You're choosing what you're choosing.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Well, you know what? For me, it was not so much of a choice. It was something that I had to learn how to accept.
And everybody, as they get older, they have to let go, let go, let go. We had an island. I had to let go. It's not that bad. It's not that hard.
So I'm just saying that now, what is going to be, critical and key is that in this transition, the real question is, because because the way things are going, it can't continue this way.
No.
And the AI bubble that they're creating and all this nonsense about these data centers and everything else, that can't come into fruition.
Right.
Mechanical nature won't allow it. If they keep trying to push that and push that and push that, they're going to bring about their own destruction.
Yeah. How many people, are not going to go along with it, are going to either rebel against it and get put in FEMA camps, have their livelihood taken away from them by the government, censorship, all this kind of thing. And, then how many people are left after those that rebel and those that commit suicide and take drugs how many people are going to be left after all of that? You think that maybe the population will have been significantly reduced in that whole process? Significantly. They're looking for 9/10 of the population to be eliminated, wiped out by any means possible.
But Wolfgang, they don't have to reduce the population in any meaningful way because the boomers are going to die soon.
Yeah.
And the young people, the young generations aren't having sex.
But that's what I'm saying. I am saying exactly that, what point you're making.
So they're not going to have to go out of their way to exterminate people.
That's exactly what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's you see, that is how mechanical nature goes when something has run its course, when something becomes too convoluted. It's just that they're going to be doing this. They're going to be doing this shift.
Yes.
Of because the billionaires themselves, the oligarchs themselves, can't allow this thing to keep going the way it's going, and they see an opportunity. They see an opportunity to basically rob the entire middle class of all of its wealth. And again, this is a representative curve. Okay, it doesn't actually look like this in real life, but I'm just using it as an example. This is the natural, harmonic, balanced approach to the way wealth should be distributed. And they see an opportunity to turn it to this, just like they did during 1929. And then what 1929 led to, as you know, was the rise of Nazi Germany, the Second World War, and the rise of Bolshevikism, so proper communism in the East, and then the rise of capitalism in the West. And what was, for many people at least, the 1950s was this, quote, golden age of the United States, where the rise of the middle class, where everybody had this house and a car and this. Do you realize that in 1968, when my parents came to Canada, they bought a brand new car for cash for like $2,000 or $3,000? That was like my dad saving up for like 4 or 5 months. his salary, he could go in and buy a brand new car. Today, the cheapest new car you can buy is like a minimum $30,000.
Right.
That's nobody's saving up for a couple. Nobody can buy a new car for cash anymore. Everybody has to finance a car.
Right.
That's how it shows you how the convolution everything has exploded. Inflation has exploded. The cost of everything has exploded. The complexity of not the complexity, the overcomplication of everything has exploded. You can't even work on a car anymore. You used to be able to work on your own car. Teenagers used to be able to buy a car for $500 and they would fix it up themselves. You can't do that anymore.
No, and that's all good, right?
Right? I'm just saying that it can't continue this way because it's unsustainable.
And I completely agree.
Right? And that's why it has to collapse and somebody has to collapse it.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that this is the half empty part of the glass. Okay, and that's okay, because in the glass is half full, there's a half empty part. But we're not going to really waste too much time on it. We really aren't, because we know.
I'm not saying this is half empty. I'm saying this is half full. I'm saying this is the half full part.
Well, go ahead. To me, it's the half empty part. We're in disagreement on that.
Okay, I'm not hearing you guys right now.
Well, look, it's half empty insofar as the existing system has to collapse.
Yes.
But that to me is not a bad thing. That to me is a good thing, because the existing system is overwrought with what we've been talking about all day, which is convolution. The existing system is overwrought. It's over convoluted. That's what's causing everybody so much stress and anxiety and debt and everything that people are living with. It needs to collapse. That's a good thing that it collapses.
Is it collapsing because of mechanical nature? Or is it collapsing because of divine nature?
It's collapsing because of mechanical nature. The oligarchs, the guys, the black magicians, the Black Lodge who created this system, they are collapsing it. This was my point, is that even convolution is a problem even for mechanical nature.
So
it can't let it continue. It has to collapse it.
You've helped me to really get something clear for myself. When I talk about the glass is half full, I'm only talking about divine nature in the half full part. I'm not talking about mechanical nature at all, because it's handled in the glass is half empty, as you say. It's taken care of. So what does that allow for in the glass is half full? It allows for this population to virtually be at the edge of overpopulating the planet, at the edge, which is called critical mass. And I suggest if there was critical mass, that many people, it was there for a purpose called critical mass. Critical mass is what the quickening emerges from. Critical mass is what they're calling the awakening. It's not consciousness, as you say, but it brings things to the precipice of the possibility. Because if you don't have awake, if you're sleepwalking, consciousness is very highly, highly unlikely. So everything is happening perfectly from the very high view looking down. From more of a divine nature, you're saying it's beautiful. It's all going to implode. It's all going to destroy itself. And now those guys that cling to that, they're going to be in fucking hell. I'm not going to be living there. That's not my world.
So for me, I've been living in the glass is half full for 15 years.
Okay, but that's a mindset.
But it's a mindset of accepting and recognizing that what was, quote, forced on me, right? The circumstances that I found myself in but it allowed me, it showed me that ultimately, and it opened the doors.
Yeah.
It was a new launch pad for expansion of my consciousness.
That's all I'm ever talking about.
Right. So,
That's all I'm ever talking about.
So what I'm saying is the 15-minute city, right, and the universal basic income will potentially put millions of people in the same boat that I've been in for 15 years, allowing them to spend their time observing themselves, knowing themselves, and expanding their consciousness in a way that their 9-to-5 job and their insurance and mortgage payments and income taxes and all that other shit hasn't let them do.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And because Hollywood these days is shoveling garbage, Hollywood is pumping out just garbage movie after garbage movie, and they're deconstructing all of the myths and the heroes and the legends, and people are sick of it. They've had enough of it. So they're not going to be mindlessly consuming all that slop anymore.
No.
They're already turning away from that. They're already turning back and reading the classics and reading mythology the way it was meant to be read, not the deconstructed version, right? So there's this the convoluted mess as it collapses, and whatever they bring in here to try to this new deal, like you said, for everybody clinging to the old way, there's going to be a lot of like wailing and gnashing of teeth, but there will be a critical mass of, you said it, of people given this whole new chance, this whole new platform, foundation, or springboard, that they can actually start really focusing on themselves, on who they are, why they're here, and these higher levels of being, than just being a consumer and being a cog in the machine, right?
I agree with all that, but here's the thing I want to say. It's just the same way, like I'm seeing kinetic warfare like disappearing altogether, and I'm seeing this thing of 5-minute cities as being like a version of a kinetic warfare. I'm saying it may not have to go to that extreme. It may not. It will, but it doesn't have to across the board. In other words, there are going to be human beings that don't have to lose absolutely everything in order to be in that orientation, in that headspace. So they don't necessarily have to be in the reality of a 5-minute city.
So
see, you can't reduce everything to just one outcome.
Yeah, I know, but that's exactly what you're doing when you say 5-minute city. 5-minute city was one tiny little aspect. The major aspect here.
How would I know that? You're saying 5-minute city. I assume that's it. That's all. The only reality there is.
Hold on, before you get into this. Yeah,
No,
I know where you come from. That's not
the fundamental the fundamentals of this is the shift in wealth away from the middle class to the 1%, and the fallout from that. And so the 1% is going to have to do something to give the middle class and the lower class that they basically just stolen from.
Yeah.
They're going to have to give them a way of living, and so they've designed in their minds at the very basic level a universal basic income.
Yeah.
Right. So if everybody had, if nothing else, forget everything else, just all these people are going to be put out of work because of AI, and all these companies will be going bankrupt, and there's unemployment is going to skyrocket, and young people and so on, they can't afford. They're not going to be able to afford where they live, but that's okay, because BlackRock and State Street, all these companies are going to come in and buy up all that real estate and turn it into rental housing. Well, if nobody can pay rent, what's the point of having rental housing? So they're going to invent this universal basic income, So you will be able to have a nice house or an apartment or whatever, and you're going to have enough to be able to buy groceries and feed your family, and you won't have to work. That's basically the idea. Now, it's a kind of it's a different take on socialism or communism is what it is. Some people, if they want to work, some people will be able to work because we will always need people to do certain things.
Right.
But all of this paper pushing, like middle class, these like meaningless, pointless, bureaucratic jobs that people are going to and spending all of this time and energy and effort on, a lot of that's going to vanish. So what are those people going to do? Well, they have to have a way to survive. So if you give them a way to survive, then what are they going to do? Well, hopefully they're going to start living for themselves and for their higher selves.
Well, what I'm seeing in what you're saying is, remember Hidalgo Harari, whatever his name was? And he was the transhumanist guy, right?
Yusuf Harari.
Whatever, yeah. Like he was the transhumanist guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened to him? He's like, nobody's heard from him.
He's still around. He's still around.
I know he's still around, but whatever he was pushing is like, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. So the transhumanist thing, even though Elon Musk still has something pushing with that, it really is already, we're beyond that. We don't need a machine when you can control the wavelength of a human brain with like any, you don't need a mechanical device in the brain when you have these more complex, sophisticated means of controlling the brain. Like I'm just saying that we're moving through all of this convoluted stuff very rapidly, like really fast. And I'm suggesting that, you know, what you're describing, we will also move beyond that.
I gotta very quickly. I've been ignoring the chat. So Ben 8 said middle class is being bypassed. That's what he was commenting on the charts, and then he said it's all a humiliation ritual. Neither world is bad to live in, just humiliation.
Right.
That's his take on what both this system is about and what the next system is going to be about, to diminish the human being. He believes it's in the Noahide laws. I think he was in the middle of typing something and changed his mind. Murphy, why don't you chime in, because you've been quiet for a while. We've been.
No, here's what I think about it. There is first of all, I think there's something about what we have now that exists as a mechanism for what you call convolution, which is, in my opinion, what we consider to be safety and convenience. So this thing about safety and convenience is received by giving up our freedoms.
Right.
So the more convoluted it gets, the less freedom we have.
Yes.
And when you talk about, say, getting out of it or whatever, that doesn't really happen because you don't have any freedom.
That's right.
So the thing, so what we have to move towards here is what it's going to look like when we have this. Sorry.
Or what might be another way out.
So let Murphy finish let Murphy finish his thought.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, what's another way out? But there. First of all, we can't judge how the way out can be, right? In Attlas' case, he lives in his 15-minute city, But you have to understand that even as safe as he is, he's gained many freedoms in his own circumstances, under his own circumstances. And that's why, and that's how some of these things collapse on itself. Right? Because not all safety is good safety, or even possible for that matter, because there's always a little bit of yourself that wants to break it through, which is your freedom. I'm just saying that part of what happens in the world is it always wants to make it more and more and more consistent. Or at least the people do. Humanity wants to make it more and more and more consistent. And in Black Lodge, they take advantage of that by making everyone feel more and more and more safe. By making you, stupid.
Yeah.
And the glass is half full in the sense that, yeah, you know what? It's gonna happen. You know what? We feel good in a sense, and because of that, we're eventually gonna learn a way to deal with it, or we are dealing with it because we feel the way. That can be a glass half full, but when we're talking about entropy, when talk about convolution, well, shit, you have no freedom. So that's not. I mean, you can't. It's not a space to speak about glass half full because we know that freedom exists, right? That's just where that exists. But in the mechanical nature, where right now we're in the phase of safety and we're in the phase of uh what the comment was saying about humiliation. We can't afford to talk about freedom because we don't have that so much yet. We're talking about it, so that's a great step forward, right? I think being able to talk about it is a great step forward. But I think there's a big struggle when it comes to being in a place where we're ready to move past it. So it's all just going to collapse on itself, and it's going to keep collapsing on itself until we realize that there's more freedom, and not so much of the safety shit, but still feel like we've gone to the next level. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's kind of where that's at.
Very quickly, Ben says Europe rolled out the digital ID, but they're saying you have to have it in order to work. What I think what Murphy is trying to express there, you tell me if I'm not steelmanning you correctly, Murphy, is that we can talk freedom all we want under the present system, but the reality is that many people, for many reasons, are not free. They're constrained. They're tremendously constrained by the financial and economic circumstances of the present system. Right? We can talk freedom all we want, but if you don't have the money, the wherewithal, the resources, or the connections, or whatever it is you need to be, quote, successful, then then you're not free to live your life however you want. It's just an illusion. It's a concept of freedom within these very, very tightly controlled constraints. But I do want to touch on what Wolfgang said about it could unfold that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to unfold that way, like following the collapse. Well, we all know, because we've been shown visions of this. We've been shown countless visions of what comes, potentially what could happen following the collapse. Everything from Mad Max to Brave New World and you talking about like Childhood's End, and like there are countless people who have envisioned and imagined a post-apocalyptic or post-capitalist utopia or dystopia, depending on how you look at it. Everything from Minority Report to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, also known as Blade Runner. But there's also the reality that we already know of today, that a lot of people are just going to move into their underground bunkers. And a lot of people in the Midwestern United States, for instance, they're just going to stay in on their farms and and raise chickens and cows and grow wheat and vegetables. And there's lots of other people that are they're gonna sell everything they own or whatever and move into the mountains and build a log cabin in the woods in the mountains, and they're going to live off the land. Like there's all sorts of ways in which different people will react or respond to the systemic collapse. And human beings are nothing if they're not clever, and if they don't have the ingenuity to survive. And people will do what they need to do to survive, and some will do what they feel they need to do or want to do to thrive. And people will do that in all sorts of different ways. But there will also be some kind of systemic plan or program put in place for those individuals and there's going to be many, many young people, Gen Z and millennials, who will gladly welcome a kind of nanny state that basically takes care of them, because a lot of those millennials and Gen Z were raised that way, to expect, to be taken care of. So there's lots of different outcomes. I'm not saying there's only one outcome, but I'm saying that there will be some systemic attempt at a, quote, a New Deal, in the same way that FDR drafted the New Deal during the Great Depression.
Okay. I mean, that's a better picture when you open it up that way. Okay. So in all of that, all of these books that you're talking about, City in the Stars, like they all end up with, there's these wild men, right? Kind of, this is an exact, they back to nature and going that way. Then there's these people that live inside these domes, that live so-called smart cities. And then there's these other guys that are like telepaths, and they're like a very highly spiritual, not religious, spiritual. They're a different kind of humanity. Okay. And the guy who got out of the dome, the City of the Stars, he meets these people and they welcome him, but they still say, there's a lot of catching up you have to get to where we're at. In other words, they're truly conscious, and he's like somewhat conscious because he broke out and he was strong enough to break away from that city. He wasn't safety oriented. He was, what Murphy's saying, he had this spirit to be free, to free himself. And so this individual meets with people who have freed themselves. Okay. And that's what a lot of these books are leading to, this other humanity that shows up. And they always talk of them as a very small number of people that are highly conscious, and they're very different. Childhood's end, same thing, kind of same thing. So that is the thing that I call my glasses half full, is that vision. I already live there. I already am there. So in where you're describing yourself, you're saying I'm already there too.
Yeah, that's why we're having this live stream.
So I'm different from you because I have a house and I probably need to let go of all that shit. So
you won't. Yeah, you don't need to let you only need to let go of it when it's taken away, essentially.
Yeah. Well, but that's what I mean.
Right.
But with you, what's going to be taken away, right?
Nothing. Well, nothing. Or if something's going to be taken away, I have nothing to lose. So if something's taken away, I have nothing to be. I have nothing to lose. So I have nothing that can be taken away.
Wait, if you have to have a hip replacement or something happens and you can't walk 45 minutes to your barber shop, these things also can take place, right? Or you could get some disease like cancer or whatever. These are all additional things that doesn't make you so safe as you'd like it.
No, you know what? Nothing. I did not use the word safety once.
No. I'm not.
Not once. Safety is not a concern of mine.
No. Okay, I agree with you because you couldn't be free if safety was such an issue. You couldn't.
So I'm not concerned about that. I'm not concerned about breaking a hip or getting cancer. That's my half is glass full place.
Wait. I'm talking to you by way of talking to Murphy. I'm not
sure.
I don't really
right?
Yeah, but this is for Murphy, right?
Right.
And I don't mean to point. I'm not pointing my finger at you at all.
No, but what? Okay, but what you're saying is what we're saying is you in where you are and me in where I am.
Yeah.
We count ourselves part of this other group of awakened ones or higher consciousness people or whatever you want to call it. The point is the system we are in is completely irrelevant to that aspect of who we are.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the system is around me, just as long as I can get up every day and meditate or talk to you or like, you know, commune with other people like and who are on the same wavelength.
That's what I'm always trying to. That's what I am here to set up. I think you're trying to reach or talk to people that they're stuck and they're looking for help. I'm not. I'm just saying, here, this is what it is. It's already here. And you see, that's my message. Your message is here's how to get to there. I think.
No, that's not my message.
Okay, it feels like it.
Not my message.
No, okay.
Boy, you guys are straw manning me today, and it's kind of it's kind of funny to watch.
Wait, you guys? I didn't say
you guys keep
anything.
projecting onto me. Nothing, not
Wait,
remotely what I
What do you
said.
guys? I haven't
today.
said anything at all.
Don't use terms like straw manning. I'm not saying you're straw manning me. Just let me ask you.
Because I'm not straw manning you.
Okay, how do you see the difference, sort of, from my orientation and your orientation? I'm saying there's a difference. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, all I'm trying to communicate, okay?
No, it is fine.
Is that and I even said it was a hot take. I even said some people will find it controversial.
Okay.
But I feel very strongly, and it's my half is glass full way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a lot of people aren't going to like it. And I'm not going to say that a lot of people won't be up in arms. A lot of will. But for those people who are, quote, like us, who are struggling and suffering with the pressures and the complications and the convolutions of the way things are, I'm saying that what I've seen of what the shift may be taking place is that this present mass of convolution has to go away, and it will go away, and that I feel very strongly that even the Black Lodge, even the globalists, i.e. the people who work for mechanical nature, even they, what they set up in its place is going to be better than what we have now, better in terms of somebody who's wanting to achieve higher consciousness and be on the spiritual path. That's all I'm saying in a nutshell.
Yeah, it will be.
Which is a glass is half full way of looking at things, no matter how you look at it. That's a glass is half full way of looking at things.
Okay.
It's a hopeful way of looking at things. Now, but you point out, Wolfgang, but if you're attached to your car and your RRSPs and your 401ks and the things that you own and your big house and the mortgage and your career, your job and all that stuff, if you're attached to that,
Yeah.
well, the sooner you start letting go of your need for those things, the better off that you're going to be in the long run.
Well, the better off you're going to be when you have to let go of those things.
Well, exactly. But that's what I mean.
Yeah. Because you will have to.
So a lot of people, because a lot of people who do consider themselves higher consciousness or whatever, but then you start talking to them about economic collapse or whatever, and they say, yeah, the guy who tries to take my motorcycle away from me is going to be looking at the barrel of my gun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
How can you be a higher consciousness individual but be so attached to a motorcycle or a car or whatever?
The key to what you said, the key, right? The underlying key is this whole thing of what I call, within every disadvantage, there's an equal and equivalent advantage. When you always orient yourself toward making something of everything that life presents you with and turning it into something good or something better, then you're free. You're as free as you can be. You've freed yourself. You've chosen.
Because what you just described is transmutation.
Yes.
That's alchemy. But you see, this is why convolution can only and has to collapse and be wiped away because you cannot transmute it. It's too convoluted. It doesn't have what you're describing, where you can extract the gold from the lead, right? That alchemical, that transmutation, because it's just the amount of time and effort and energy that it would take for you to try to do that from something that is convoluted.
Yes.
It's just you would be exhausted and the benefit would be so little.
Yes.
That it's like, to hell with it. Just wipe the board clean and let's start from scratch.
And if you look at, sorry, I don't want to bring in tangent too much, but black magic itself, it takes that kind of energy to try to change and manifest and make something physically change in the world. It's like running a starship, on the energy from a sun, and that is why it's black magic.
And that's why you can't progress
exactly
truly as a white magician if you're practicing black magic, because it's draining you of all the energy that you need to go in the other direction.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunately. But again, just playing, just a hot take, right? Imagine, just like John Lennon said, right? Imagine no possessions, just for a second. Imagine no possessions, and we didn't have this crazy capitalist everything. And you could basically get whatever you needed very easily with very little effort. There would be less incentive for people to practice black magic.
Right.
There would be less incentive for people to be trying to manifest a new car and manifest this and manifest that. If more or less everything that they really needed to, quote, to be happy was basically taken care of. Now you could actually focus on, maybe I'll focus on, I don't know, lucid dreaming. Maybe I'll focus on learning how to do ESP with Wolfgang or Murphy.
Right.
Like maybe I'll focus on expanding my mind or doing something more constructive than just putting all my effort and energy into getting a new car because I have to commute 150 kilometers every day to my job.
Well, now you're kind of showing what a golden age would have to look like. Okay, would have to be sort of in that vein, and what I'm saying is even a golden age will only last for so long.
Well, a golden age lasts 1,000 years.
But
Okay.
there's a reason it ends is because there is a complacency that takes place that needs to look at the black magic, needs to reintroduce all of that back into itself. That's the universe and consciousness, the overarching consciousness of the universe requires.
But remember, but golden age goes to silver age.
Yes.
Okay, it's not like golden age to iron age. It's like it's a progression, right? It's a progression. But the thing is that what I was describing wasn't a golden age. What I was describing was a hint, a taste.
Yeah.
You know, like just enough for that people to start. So again, this live stream, this podcast is for people who aspire to higher consciousness, who aspire to better things, who maybe aspire to a golden age. I'm saying is that in very short order, maybe this year, there will be a massive socioeconomic financial shift happening on the global stage that might be leading to the establishment of a really, like you use the word bridge, right? Of a way of living that will allow us to spend more time focusing on what really matters instead of all this time and energy and effort that we spend on materialism and mechanicity and so-called quote being successful in the world.
Right.
Like we might be on the cusp and on the verge of the way the world is needs to collapse so that the next thing that comes along, maybe success in that world will be relatively like the minimum level, like the basic income and everything will sort of be taken care of. If you want to be really successful, sure, you'll still probably have to work for it and work hard for it. But if what you want to be successful at is not worldly success,
right,
but otherworldly success, if what you want to work on is not your personality and your physical body, but what you want to work on is your solar bodies, and you want to work with your higher self to do your true calling, maybe you will have a better opportunity to do that 12 or 24 or 36 or 72 months from now.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We go back to ecosystems and gardens and nature. The more we play into our role as stewards of the planet, true caretakers of the earth, of the planet, of the matrix, of the illusion, right? When we lift that into its highest expression, just making the world a better place and really putting all that love and care into it is what allows the things that you're talking about to open up and blossom. There's something about that, okay? But still not completely separating yourself from everything,
okay,
but working in it and lifting it up.
So I still have one, because I still have hope, okay?
Yeah.
And you know, you're a fan of the glass is half full, so you'll be with me on this.
Yeah.
You know that a while back, I actually paid someone to do that very, very rudimentary, amateurish kind of like 3D renderings of an ecosystem under a dome with these like units around it. Only in concept, only in like, I still have hope that at some point in the future, if these billionaires are going to be truly trillionaires, okay, they're going to be gadzillionaires, and they're going to be buying up all the real estate, and they're going to be building these 15-minute cities. I still have hope that with all of their money and their environmentalism and their recognition that you, quote, have to keep the sheeple happy,
right?
I have to hold out hope that there's gonna be one of them, and maybe it's Elon, who will be open to saying, you know what, if we're going to build these things, why not do this ecosystem thing? This looks incredible, and let's just build one and see what it's like, or see how it works. And then when they experience it, they're all going to want one, number one. And number two, they'll be like, everybody needs to live like this.
Right.
I maybe that's stupid, naive optimism on my part. Maybe, could be. But that vision that was given to me of that pyramidal ecosystem under the dome, and everybody living and sharing that in the energy of the ecosystem, when I received that, it was so strong, it was so vivid, that I keep that on the back burner. And I say, if they're going to be wiping the slate clean and reorganizing and doing all this shit anyway, I'm going to keep putting that out into the world, that somebody is going to pick up on that somebody along the way is going to, and maybe I need to rekindle those
Well, here's the other thing. The ecosystem will show that mankind can actually reverse the destruction of the planet, can actually bring life into a space that didn't have life, and turn it into its highest expression, a high order ecosystem, so that they go, well, you know what? Maybe that's their turning point, right? That's the place where they are able to jump from being a demon and possessed by a demon to an alternative. It's also that for them. Because, wow, I can do good in the world. Wow, I can really do something here.
And not just that, but what came to me at one time was I don't know if he thinks it's part of his life's work or whatever, but Elon absolutely wants to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And what came to me was, if Elon ever saw that dome with the ecosystem and those units, he would be like, that's how we go to Mars.
Right.
And if Elon gets behind it and makes it part of like SpaceX and his Mars mission,
yeah,
then so much of the technology will get sorted out. You know what you've always struggled with, like the pumps and all that shit, the mechanical stuff. Elon knows mechanical stuff better than anybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if they can make it work on Mars, we can make ecosystems anywhere on this planet, right? Like that. If Elon can make it work on Mars, we can make it work anywhere. And now we have the Ark. And the Ark will be all over the world, wherever there's a community of conscious people that want to live in an ecosystem. You know, we can put an ecosystem there, and now we have our Ark of our conscious people living in pyramidal ecosystems, and wherever they are in the world.
Well, and you know, all intents and purposes, these are not the same people that are around us right now. They're not.
Not necessarily. Yeah, exactly. We're scattered, right?
They're a completely different. Like they're the Superman. They're the different. They're not the animals that used to be before. They've mutated, or they've evolved into something completely different. Completely different.
But that's what I mean. But what they're mutating into, like what I'm mutating into, doesn't give a shit about big houses and square footage and all this. I am so. If you saw like the place that I'm living in now, I swear to God, Wolfgang, you haven't been here yet, but it's palatial compared to what I had in Japan. Like the apartment that I'm living in now is like 6 times bigger than my apartment in Japan.
Oh yeah.
It's like that, but I was this in Japan is where I first realized how little I needed to be happy.
Yeah. Okay.
And that ever since then, I was like 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Like for a quarter of a century, I've been carrying with me the knowledge that my happiness has I can live in a tiny little shoebox with a tiny little fridge and a toaster oven and be happy.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so so and I think that in what's coming down the pike, maybe what people and maybe there's no helping the masses, maybe there's no convincing the masses or you know what have you, because a lot of people are going to be really attached to everything. But again, for those people who are on the edge, like you were saying, like, you know, just to invite them to just to step onto the other side of that edge and saying, look, don't think of it as, like you said earlier, don't think of it as everything you're losing as some kind of a tragedy. Think of it as, yeah, great, look at all the things that I'm going to be free of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but even then, you don't even, you just let go, and that's not your reality anymore. It's behind you, right? So all you want to do is, oh wow, look what's new, look what just showed up. Look, I can work with this, right? You don't give a shit what happened back there anymore. It's like it's
Exactly.
over, gone, you know.
And you know, I also think a lot of not everybody, because a lot of people are really, there's actually a very strong conservative movement going backwards and wanting to like go backwards in time,
Yeah.
right? And while I understand where they're coming from, I empathize with them, I really do. There is a way to bring the best
Yes.
of the
Right.
old with us forward into the future, not turn the ship around and go in the, you know what I mean?
Well, and I think we're in a time where we won't go that far back, right? We won't. We'll do more of what you're saying with it, I think. Look, at even religion is questionable. How far back you can take that, right? It's more moving from religion to spiritual, to what's in your heart. Where is Christ within you, not in some church or in some book, right? That all is like they're trying to bring it back and calling it that's our culture, but a lot of that will not stick. It'll
Well,
move to another level of what that is. It'll still be culture, it'll still be tradition, but it will move into a much more refined aspect of itself, because there's no denying what we the revelation of what we know about religion and what it has done to people and how it's just been another trap to enslave people. That's obvious.
um, when I went to visit La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and you know they finished it.
Yeah.
They put the towers, they put the crosses on the towers and everything else. They had the big ceremony and everything else. When I was there, I couldn't shake the feeling that one day I would be up on the pulpit speaking to a filled, packed church.
Okay.
And the PhD that I'm doing in metaphysics, I have the option of becoming a minister of metaphysics as part of that program.
Okay.
And I have this, again, could be naive, could be, but I believe that the Catholic Church has the potential to become the most important organization in the world for helping individuals awaken and self-realize,
Mm.
but only if they embrace and restore the metaphysical science that was redacted from the Bible by Emperor Constantine and his theologians
Right.
during the Nicene council. And but this Pope, that we have. You know, he published a decree on AI,
Okay.
and he's American.
Yeah.
I have, again, just hope, could be a fool's hope. I know that. I'm not living with any illusions, but I also know that Muslims all over the world are being visited by Christ in their dreams,
Okay. Yeah.
and they're converting to Christianity.
Yes, I know.
So it's then, and that Christianity is the most successful and most prolific religion around the world. I believe that there is hope, that at some point in the future there will be an opportunity to um, I would call it not a reinvention, but a reinvigoration, a rebirth, a restoration of the original teachings of Christ prior to the Nicene Council. And I know for a fact that there will be many, many Christian mystics and Catholic mystics who would be on board and in support of doing that and opening up the Vatican archives and publishing all of these archaic texts that they have down there, some of them preserved from the Library of Alexandria, that have been locked under lock and key because it didn't fit in with Catholic dogma, right?
Right.
So and where the priests like that Exorcist, right? There was this movie they made. Russell Crowe was playing that the Pope's Exorcist, it was called.
Yeah.
That exorcists need to like be able to like have a worldwide council of exorcists where they can compile their knowledge and put out some kind of papal decree on the nature of demons, the nature of their influence on humanity, how to protect yourself against them, and all this kind of stuff where we've been talking about, like truly lifting the veil,
Right.
and empowering people now as to not just become quote Christians, but to become Christs.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm seeing is I keep seeing this word revelation and apocalypse, right? Like the revealing, like things are just coming at us a million miles an hour, like and it's speeding up exponentially. It's not just speeding up; it's faster and faster and faster. And I mean, it could be overwhelming, but if you center yourself in that, this is the matrix, and it's you operate from that higher realm, then nothing is overwhelming. It's just unfolding, and you're going, it wouldn't be bad if it could happen a little faster, right? That's but you're not likely to say it because you're going, it's happening exactly how it needs to be happening.
Look, I've already waited 50 years.
Yeah.
So I recently had this talk with Eduardo. It's like, I've waited 53 years. I can wait a couple more, right? Like, you know what I mean?
No, and I'm in the same. I feel the same way about that. I only said that you're not overwhelmed anymore from that place. Nothing.
No.
That's all I'm getting at when I say that.
No.
I mean, it doesn't need to be faster. It's as fast as it needs to be, right?
You know what else I've noticed?
Yeah.
Is that more and more people on Facebook, on YouTube, elsewhere, like I used to have all this pressure put on me. Yeah. I'd put all this pressure on myself that I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to say this and I got to say that and I got to reach people with my message and blah, blah, blah. I'm now seeing all these other people through all these other avenues and all these other things, realizing, oh no, see, that was never my job to do that.
No.
All these other people are picking up the slack and saying, okay, well, so now I'm focusing on, okay, well then what is my job? What is nobody talking about? What is it that
Yes.
I see or have been shown that nobody else is talking about or
And
showing?
we're
Or
talking about that every single week, every single day, because there's always something new that you really should be talking about or could be talking about. So it
But
always,
that's why, like, I'm open, and that's why whatever shows up for me during the week
yes,
is what I bring to Sunday,
yeah,
and saying this is what we're going to be talking about because this is what showed up, and what showed up this week
yeah.
was convolution.
Okay, so there are influencers that are doing that as well. Only a lot of them get sidelined by how many people are watching, and they get sucked into another element there. So you look at these influencers and say they're all kind of doing what you're doing, but they seem to get not just sidelined. They slow down. They're not at that cutting edge. They're not at the razor's edge of that what you're talking about.
No, because they're stuck in the content generation loop.
Yes, yes, yes.
They're stuck in the trap of, oh, I got to make content. I got to make content. We got to have content.
Not only that, but I have to be right. I have to prove my point to some extent.
Okay, well, maybe there's a part of that there too, but
yeah, but I think it's the construct that like I was saying, right?
Yeah,
If you're in the world, these guys that show up to get all this attention, you're learning how to survive, I guess, in the convolution.
yeah, but
So these are all
but ultimately that collapses in on itself because as they get better and better at appealing to their audience, they become more and more trapped by their audience, and they get further and further away from their true message and their true innermost. Okay, and so it's devolution. It convolutes itself, again, use that word, to they just wear themselves out. Like they have all these followers, and there's a momentum and an energy to sustain that, but they're like not happy people because they're no longer anywhere near delivering anything novel or anything creative or anything new.
Murphy, we talked about this a number of weeks ago when we talked about once you start feeding the algorithm, you become a slave to the algorithm.
Yes.
Right? And so once you start depending on it and relying on it, then you become, that's how it gets you.
Yes.
And you think, and I know this, we talked about this weeks ago because I went through this. And remember, it was when I was coming out of this depression, it was the realization I had of why I was depressed.
Exactly.
I was depressed because I thought of this YouTube as a platform to be able to get the message out there. But that's not what it is.
No.
It's a prison that exploits people like me to churn out content so they can sell advertising.
Right.
Now, you might argue with both, that the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. But here I am, the glass is half full. There's 4 people watching, and I think 3 of those people are us.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care. I'm not worried about that.
No.
It's completely irrelevant.
Okay.
Because what matters is we're having the conversation, and then what matters is what we're putting out into the world, and what matters is where we go from here. It has nothing to do with viewers and dollars and monetization and all that nonsense. But if I was still stuck where I was back in March and April in that deep depression, I'd be like, oh, how am I going to get more people? How am I get more viewers? How do I get more of this? How do I do more optimization? How do I get the algorithm working for me? Blah, 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 blah. And all of that was just me setting myself up to become a slave of YouTube.
Yeah. Same with me. I'm not even remotely interested in a new garden to do for a client or a new ecosystem. I'm not. I just want to make the best of the clients that I'm working with and take that and just keep that being the best that it can be. And you know, that is like, if you were younger and that's all you did, that is the future for success. It looks like a big long step back, but it's not. It will bring to you everything you could imagine, but we need to go through this other time, which is the glass is half empty time. We need to get past that before
And
before that can really take place again.
and what I'm saying, my message, if the takeaway here, because we're at 3.5 hours now, the takeaway, if there is a takeaway, riding on the coattails of exactly what Wolfgang just said, the takeaway today, what I wanted to get across is I see the the chess pieces being set up now this summer for the fall, the autumn, to bring about the fall and the collapse that Wolfgang's talking about. The shit that needs to go away, it's
Yeah,
gonna start going away in a big way this fall. And
it'll be
so
huge. It'll be huge, and
and
not only
so
that.
and so it's a hopeful vision. It's a
Yes.
hopeful view, not a oh my god. It's not, we're not
Okay.
catastrophizing, oh my
So,
god, everything's gonna go to hell.
so
We're
let me
saying
say,
no, let everything go to hell, and we're gonna go to the next place, the better place.
everybody, depending on where they're at, how attached they are, and not, is going to perceive that completely in a different way from everybody else. And it's going to be our job, maybe, to just soothe and just ease the pain of those that are suffering like crazy, if we can.
If
If,
nothing else, we come online and we have the conversation just like we're having now, saying,
yeah,
look at all the potential.
yeah,
Look what can happen now. Look what the possibilities are now. We haven't had this kind of chance
yes,
in our entire lifetime. And Gen X, because I'm Gen X, Wolfgang, I think you're just on the cusp of Gen X.
okay,
That we now, we have the chance to inherit real power and real control over the future of humanity.
that's right.
We're the so-called lost generation. Why? Because we never accepted the way things are as the way they should be.
Okay,
We always said, well, you know what? We're going to stand on the outside. We're going to be on the outside looking in, and we're
yeah,
going to do whatever we need to do. But if the chance ever comes for the world that the baby boomers built and the baby boomers been doing for the last 50 years to go away, that's going to be our sign to step in and show the world what's really possible. The world that we've been living in our whole lives, when people calling us the lost generation. No, we weren't lost. We were self-found.
right. So one last point I would like to make is that, you're saying, well, somebody might listen. I want to say that we're at a point, because of the thing of the massive people population, the critical mass achieved something. It achieved that this other kind of level of, all we need to do is have this conversation, and this immediately goes into the computer called the Earth brain, or the Earth computer. It instantly becomes accessible to everyone that's ready to receive it. So that's something different from the Dark Ages, or from the Kali Yuga. That was very thick and slow in transmitting itself. That has changed. That has changed dramatically. So it means I don't have to write a book. You don't have to reach 1,000 people. If you're going to be a salesman, you don't have to go and talk to 1,000 people so you can make one sale. You're just going to be able to go directly and make your sale to the right person at the right time. That's where we're moving. We're really already there. We're already there at that place. So, naturally, it's going to dawn on you, well, I don't need to have 1,000 followers in order to do what I need to do. Right. And even that ambivalent place of, is Wolfgang crazy now, what he's saying, or is it valid? That is important also. That that's that fluidity and that openness that's an important stage right now to become more fluidic and more allowing.
Murphy, you get the last word if you want it.
No, it's okay. I think what we're living in a time where we are learning all the messages of self-sustainability, where it doesn't matter what happens out there in the convolution, we can ease the seriousness of it, but in the end we all come back to ourselves and our own knowing to take care of ourselves and the things around us, and things will attract more and more of that in your own awareness to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So regardless, the convolution is going to collapse only because it has nothing left to feed on, because we're here taking care of ourselves. And
Yeah.
if anything, we always go back to that convolution a little bit because we want to learn a little bit about how to ease the pain on that side, or to learn how to defend ourselves from the things that are coming after us sometimes, once in a while, because
Yeah, and that's
sometimes it
uncomfortable,
ends up being that way. Yeah.
and that's somewhat uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, but in the end, we all learn and we all know how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
At
and
least the people who are waking up are.
we're used to being in the arena of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We're used to that one. Survival of the fittest, right? So it's not a big deal to step back and go, okay, we'll have to handle some of that shit, right? But it's not kinetic like it used to be. It isn't about this life and death reptilian
No.
response to things.
See, it's the same thing with the YouTube thing, right?
Yeah.
YouTube was about, what is it? They give you this big sword, and they're like, well, this sword's almighty. It'll serve you for everything. It'll give you all the power you want.
Yeah.
You just have to swing it a million times, right? And honestly, swinging a million times, God, I'm really fucking tired. When am I going to be free? When am I going to have this almighty power? Whatever.
Within the illusion, yeah.
But like in the end, you touch on it to be like, yeah, you know what? I see the sword. I'll take it. Thank you. But I'm not going to swing it a million times. I'll need to. And that's all it comes down to.
All right. Well, listen. Let Murphy have the last word here. Thank you for showing up and having this hopefully not convoluted talk about convolution. By the way, Murphy, did you get to see the shipping ships?
Yeah, I did see it.
Yeah.
I did
Okay.
see it.
All right.
It
Good.
was pretty funny.
Okay. So listen, I want to thank everybody who joined in the chat and who joined in the live stream today. I hope everybody has a wonderful week ahead, and I hope to see you all next week. And until then, as always, inferential peace.
Okay.
I usually leave some room for more comments or questions, but we're at the 3.5 hour mark, and I'm fairly sure that nobody is interested in dragging it out any longer. So if you have any questions, save them for next week, and we'll get to them, or just send them to me on Facebook or whatever, or put them in the comments on the YouTube video.
For the subject convoluted, I think we covered it pretty good.
Okay. All right. So then we'll see you all next week. And again, as always, inferential peace. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
And,
Bye.